I'm gaining, then again I'm losing. Sometimes I'm rising, yes, sir. Then again I'm falling. Sometimes I'm gaining, then again I'm losing. Sometimes I'm rising, yes, sir. Then again I'm falling. Let Jesus work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Oh, work it out. You work it out for Mother Teresa. Sometimes I'm gaining, then again I'm losing. Sometimes I'm rising, yes, sir. Then again I'm falling. Sometimes I'm gaining, then again I'm losing. Sometimes I'm rising, yes, sir. Then again I'm falling. Let Jesus work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Oh, work it out. You work it out for Mother Teresa.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. David Patrick Harry with Church of the Eternal Logos, and we have a Logos news stream, of which the biggest topic right now that everyone's talking about is the potential peace deal, tentative peace deal between Iran and the United States. Notice, interestingly, that does not include Israel. And that's going to be a big focus of today's Logos news stream. Is Israel doesn't seem to be too happy with the peace negotiations. Why? Well, the first stipulation that Iran put forth is that they're attacking, murdering, killing of civilians and Christians in southern Lebanon has to stop. Their supposed war against Hezbollah. And it's gotten to a point where even Donald Trump is voicing concern and opposition to Israel. We're going to be covering some of it today. And JD Vance has kind of become the mouthpiece for the Trump administration regarding what appears to be a growing contentious relationship. So this is something that I think we should warmly welcome as Americans, covering the Iran war up to this point and how essentially the Trump administration, being absolutely arch Zionist, have gone full force with the wishes of Netanyahu. However, this is actually, I think, one of the blessings of Trump being a megalomaniac. So having a major ego, being sort of obsessed with himself, if you do get on the wrong side of Trump, he will attack you. Well, as we've talked about before, this was about 2 weeks ago. There was a very fiery conversation between Trump and Netanyahu over the phone in which Trump called him effing crazy, said everyone hates Israel, which is a fact. And that actually statement has been reiterated by JD Vance. We'll be looking at some stuff today. He even mentions that, hey, basically the whole world is telling you guys to stop killing people in Lebanon. And Trump, in one interview during the peace talks, again, I'll tell you how Israel's reacted to this, but he says, you don't have to blow up an entire apartment building to attack one or two supposed Hezbollah soldiers, which they did. And they attacked Beirut, historically, actually a Christian major city, one of the most beautiful cities in the Middle East, of which is filled with civilians. And we've been covering how that doesn't really matter for Israel. They just shot 2 kids in Gaza. They just killed actually a Al Jazeera journalist in Gaza, totally defenseless. And that marked over 200 journalists. It's almost 300 journalists have been killed since October 7th in Gaza. I mean, so that's probably the hottest issue. Now, I was looking at online, like, what are the most popular news topics right now? Really, that's the only major one we're going to be covering. According to AI, I was asking, what are people talking about? And this is really interesting. Have you guys been watching some of the viral videos regarding all the foreigners coming to the United States for the World Cup? We're going to cover a few of them. So this was a very interesting discrepancy I found regarding mainstream news coverage. Is my wife's German, as you guys know. So when she logs into social media, it's filled with a very European bent to it. And she came to me and said, "Oh my God, are you seeing all these videos of the foreigners coming to the US and loving it?" I said, "No, what are you talking about?" And so she started sending some to me and I started looking them up. And I'm talking thousands and thousands of videos. Now, interestingly enough, mostly Europeans. We're talking about Norway, Scotland, England, Germans, French, all these European people coming to the US, ironically, for the first time. And many of the stereotypes are absolutely being shattered. Like one guy was claiming that he thought there was going to be violence everywhere. He wouldn't be able to leave his hotel room. He thought Americans were going to be very unwelcoming and thought that he was going to see ICE agents at the FIFA World Cup checking everybody's papers. Well, turns out they're absolutely loving their time here. Now, I got videos that are going viral of all these people, the Japanese, the Koreans. But if you look up mainstream news articles, this is what I found very interesting. The thing that they keep going on about is like a handful of chants that have been like anti-Trump or somewhat derogative of the US. Very actually few instances, but that is what the mainstream media is talking about and not talking about how much people are actually enjoying it here. So we'll catch a little bit of that. I'm not going to focus too much on reviewing people, but let's say, the Scottish, I don't know if you guys saw them take over Boston. They drank. So a group of Scottish, there's thousands of people from Scotland that have come here for the World Cup. I think they're getting ready to play Brazil and Miami. And they first arrived in Boston and they drank every drop of alcohol on the plane from Scotland to Boston. And once they arrived in Boston, they drank the entire city dry. There was, and I got even a news, I don't know if we'll watch it, but I do have it pulled up, of Bostonians talking about on their news how many bars absolutely went dry. Like after they were out of Guinness, they drank the entire city dry of Samuel Adams Boston Lager. And there was one bar that said the only thing they wouldn't drink was Bud Light, which is funny because them ruining and tarnishing their reputation of being pro-America and all that stuff. So that's a pretty interesting little phenomenon that many of the articles are talking about how they're protesting Donald Trump, they're protesting the United States. But when you watch social media, when you watch the people that are actually here and what they're sharing, it's the exact opposite. Now, some of the other major stories we're actually not going to be covering is the death of Alan Greenspan, the former Federal Reserve chair. Again, like so many of the Federal Reserve chairmen, tends to be part of the same tribe, interestingly enough. But he passed away, so it's been a news topic. But for our purposes today, we don't care. We don't care. And then there's videos and articles being written about vandalism regarding the Lincoln Memorial in D.C. that Trump has tried to beautify. I forget how many millions of dollars he's kind of put of taxpayer money towards that. And I'm all for beautifying some of the national monuments and stuff like that. But again, not an important news story. But one we will touch, this was the fourth most popular news item of today, is just briefly, I just have one post on it, is that did you guys catch the recent elections in Colombia and Peru? So if you didn't, there is a changing of the wind, if you will, in South America, and that they just elected 2 more right-wing politicians. Now, this has led to speculation. We're not going to be diving into this today, but I'll just give you my own little take on it. About the role of U.S. aid. Remember when Trump first took office, and Elon and some of his autists used AI and Doge to try to cut the funding of U.S. aid? Well, one of the claims by even people in South America, and it was echoed by, I believe, J.D. Vance, is that part of the reason why we're seeing a flood of right-wing politicians, obviously Malay, Argentina, but Chile just elected a right-wing politician, now Colombia, now Peru, totally changing the political landscape in South America. And it's believed that a lot of the U.S. aid money was actually propping up these socialist regimes. Now, tied with that, interestingly enough, the one topic that we are going to be covering today is Keir Starmer resigning as Prime Minister of the UK. And as I just told you, the shifting of the wind in South America, we see the opposite, in a way, trend in the UK. Now, who's going to replace him is actually up for grabs, but the leading candidate, who I didn't know much about, I think it was Andy something. I will have to look at his name. I have it pulled up, but I was reading a little bit about some of his politics, and he's a socialist, and he's expected to take the place of Keir Starmer, who at this point is probably the most unpopular and unliked prime minister in the history of the United Kingdom. So he's out, and the typical people that you would expect are lamenting his absence is Zelensky of Ukraine, because he was getting millions and millions of dollars from the UK. Keir Starmer is a globalist. There's a lot of speculation about maybe his sexuality and him being on the down low, if you will, and having a bit of a beard with his wife. We don't know that, but he certainly gives off some sussy vibes. We'll put it that way. Very sussy. Yeah, Akathis, you're talking about the new guy coming in? Is a Fabian socialist? Oh, Starmer is. No, Starmer is an absolute traitor. Starmer, it's amazing he even lasted this long, because we were talking about him being forced to resign as soon as he took office. He wins in this landslide, and then just within weeks, his whole image becomes ruined, and all the migrant crime going on in the UK, and the stabbing of children, and just the most recent one with the kid that was stabbed by the Sikhs and ends up getting arrested, though he didn't commit a crime, and ends up dying. Starmer's on the wrong side of all those issues. So you can imagine why people would be upset. Starmer's a gay Jew? I didn't know. Is Starmer Jewish? I did not know Starmer was Jewish. Can somebody validate that? Do you guys know if Starmer's Jewish? I had never heard that before. Yeah, we don't know who his replacement. Okay, you were talking about Starmer himself. Well, the guy, we'll look it up. I have it pulled up. In fact, I may have it right here. His name, Burnham. Andy Burnham is the guy suspected to replace him. And he is what he self-describes as a business-friendly socialist. So exactly what the UK needs. And that's the irony that I wanted to focus on this story is you see what's going on in South America, and they're getting way more right-wing. You see all these Europeans, will play some of the videos, especially the English and the Scottish people in the UK, coming to the US and basically wanting to get a green card and move here after many of the Europeans there. Because in Europe, it's actually interesting how bad of a reputation or stereotypes they have of America. They think like we're all like hiding from gunfight every time we go outside. It's rather interesting. They think ICE, they got checkpoints everywhere you go in the country. I wish they did. I'm lamenting the fact that we're not as hardcore, at least regarding the immigration stuff. But it's funny how the Europeans, their perception of the U.S. But anyways, we'll be covering a little bit of that. Did you guys see Mel Gibson finished up recording for the sequel of his latest film? Let me, what is the there it is, Resurrection of the Christ. Sorry, I was blanking on the title of the sequel, Resurrection of the Christ. They just finished filming, so it's expected to actually come out in 2027. Something that we've been waiting on, or at least hearing about, for about a decade now. So we'll be covering some of that stuff. Smash that like, guys. We got a super chat goal of 30 super chats today. And if you're feeling friendly, please give some Codal Crew memberships. The chat loves that. I got some members on the content I'll be posting this week. And don't forget, we'll be doing a group reading of Enoch a week from tomorrow. So I got a promo video that should be out tomorrow. But have you guys read the book of Enoch? Everybody talks about the Watchers and the Nephilim and the giants and the fallen angels and all this different stuff, but few people have actually read the book of Enoch. So we are going to begin reading the book of Enoch and understanding its historical context. One of the things that even I wasn't aware of before beginning some of the prep for our new project in the Logos Academy is how influential the book of Enoch was in the beginning of early Christianity. The book of Enoch was it's certainly one of the most important Jewish texts during the Second Temple period. And that's why it's not canon in the Orthodox Church. Maybe I'm giving a little bit away too much. You got to join the Logos Academy. We'll be diving into all this stuff, but it actually has to do with the dubiousness of the authorship. So the book of Enoch clearly was not written by Enoch. Couldn't have been, just based on the historical timeline. But incredibly influential, filled with New Testament themes. We have church fathers commenting on it. The Epistle of Jude has a direct quote of the book of Enoch. So if you guys are interested and want to join our reading, we'll be talking a little bit about it tomorrow night. But the official first day of our new reading project is June 30th. So please join us at the Logos Academy if you're interested in that. And I'll promote it again here in a little bit. But anyways, smash that like. If we reach 50 super chats, you guys can sponsor a community sponsored stream. We've been trying to raise some funds for Basil II, Emperor of Byzantium, known as the Bulgar Slayer. Some people wanted the Norman invasion, a historical overview of the Norman invasion when the French Normans invade and defeat the Anglo-Saxons at the Battle of Hastings. So if you guys participate and we able to reach our goal, you guys can choose the next community sponsored stream. So that's my little carrot at the end of the stick for today's stream. So smash that like, guys. Really, really glad to be here and be back and doing stream. I got so much content I want to make. One of which is in the next couple weeks is diving into this book, Occult Roots of Nazism, and doing a stream on Nazism and the tantric occult ideology behind that most people are not even aware of. So that's one of the streams that I'm trying to do some prep for. I'm excited for. So yeah. Anyways, smash that like. First thing we're going to be getting into here is this group of stories. So here's the first one. We got to start with some positive Orthodox news. Now, it's kind of positive in a way. It's sad, the fact that they're having pride parades in Thessaloniki, Greece. Now, if you guys aren't aware, the Greek North is typically way more conservative than the Greek South, which makes sense. One, more tourism, warmer weather, but places like Athens are filled with migrants, filled with Muslims. Major problem going on right now in Greece regarding Islamic immigration because Turkey just lets loose anybody who can cross the border and get into Greece. Well, or their boats that run up on shore. And the Greeks have been trying to defend themselves. But if you've gone to Greece, you know that there is a problem with the younger generation wanting to buy into essentially the West. And in so doing, they're adopting their values and they're forfeiting. When you, as an American convert, if you go to Greece, it's incredible because you see little chapels with candles lit on the street corner. There's the history. I mean, you can literally go to churches that St. Paul preached from. Beautiful architecture, saints everywhere. It's incredible. And then you see the Gen Z, I would assume millennials as well. But what I noticed was the Gen Z, the younger, the late teens, early 20s, they look exactly like Westerners. The things that they wear, and from everyone I was talking to when I was in Greece, is they feel like they're losing their culture because the young people aren't, one, learning it, and then two, don't care enough to preserve it. So there's a lot of worries in regards to orthodoxy and the cultural engagement of the domestic population and generations moving forward, because as you would expect, it's the older generation. It's the boomers and the Gen Xers that are still involved in the church. So anyways, I say all that because this was kind of making the rounds. We got 320,000 views. This is an Orthodox monk in Thessaloniki. Now, it's not too far away from Mount Athos, if you're aware, but I'm sure he's probably a monk somewhere much closer. There's monasteries all over the place. But this monk, we don't need the audio, laid in the street to stop a pride parade bus from moving forward in its pride parade. Amazing. I love to see it. Glory to God for him, and may the Lord protect him. And he then is forced by the police to get out of the way and allow the pride parade to continue forward. But I will say, have you guys noticed an absolute decline in the support for the pride parade? I mean, this is like the most quiet Pride June month I can remember in the last decade. Legitimately. It feels like this summer, this June, is the least boisterous pride parade I can remember. Typically, it's always in your face, every commercial, everybody's wearing stuff. We even saw it, I don't have the story, of like a minor league baseball team, the players refusing to wear the jerseys, and then the minor league team reprimanding them and forcing them to wear like gay pride jerseys. And even in the MLB, did you guys see the professional baseball players that they had to wear? Who was it? Was it the San Francisco Giants? Or maybe it was the LA Dodgers. It was one of the California teams forced to wear pride parade stuff. And all they did was write John 3:16 on their hat. And the league spoke out against them, said they're not allowed to do that. That's Major League Baseball. That's the big leagues. You can't even put John 3:16 on your hat. It was the Giants. Thank you. It was San Francisco. It was San Francisco. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You can't even write a Bible verse. He didn't cover up the gay pride flag. He just wrote a Bible verse on his hat where it was very visible while he had to wear, pro pride parade garbage. So anyways, it's crazy. It's all nuts, man. Ortho Yuji throws in 5. Thank you so much, brother, for getting us started today. He says, despite the bad news in Greece, we just finished building the first Orthodox church in my small city in the Southwest. Well, glory to God. Ortho Yuji, that's great. That's great. And despite this, again, and hopefully the generational tide in Greece changes. That would be most ideal. However, the irony is that Orthodoxy is not going to be slowing down in the West anytime soon at all. I mean, these Protestant apologists, they're doing everything they can to push people towards us. Like Pastor Steven Anderson, he's over in Cyprus trying to convert Orthodox Christians to Protestantism. He gets ratioed every single time he posts something on X, because he claims that if you're Orthodox, you're an idolater, and he calls us heathens. And ironically, he leads a weird evangelical Protestant cult. So, and then I don't know if you guys saw the Zoom conference, whatever. It's like a 9-hour, I couldn't watch it. It's 9 hours of Protestant pastors trying to talk about how unorthodox Christianity is by quote mining scripture. And I'm telling you guys, it's not even worth watching. It is so boring. It's so dumb that you realize, as I've said before, Protestantism is already dead. We've already defeated it. I mean, I don't know where they're going to go. The people they put forward as their apology. I mean, who is compelling? I don't see any Protestant who's compelling. It's remarkable. Yeah, the Council of Coal. I love that. Yeah. Did you guys attend the 2026 Council of Coal, where we talked about the church that Christ founded is very anti-Christian? Yeah. It is purely demonic. It is purely demonic. I don't know. It's just so dumb. It's hard for me to even watch some of that. Yeah. Ilya says it's 9-hour AI slop and quote mine. That's literally all it is. I just try to click through it. It's just quote mining. It's terrible hermeneutics and exegesis. It's low tier. I mean, there was no one there that I thought, oh, wow, they really know. It's just people that have memorized aspects of scripture and are trying to do mental gymnastics to try to defend the failings of Protestantism. I mean, people are fleeing in droves. And nothing they're doing, if you are a serious, 20-year-old male, and you're looking for like which church to join, you're convinced it's Christianity, you're trying to figure out how to develop and go along your spiritual journey. Is there anyone in the Protestant world that you find compelling? I mean, it's just so dry and it's ridiculous. Yeah, Pastor Steven Anderson, the Bible's an uncreated book. That guy, he literally runs a cult. If you guys don't know, Pastor Steven Anderson. I mean, it is a cult. They view him as the authoritative voice on everything regarding Scripture. Anyways. I digress. Let's transition back to our news program here. And as I mentioned earlier, the second interesting thing is that the Resurrection of the Christ, Mel Gibson's long-awaited sequel to The Passion of the Christ, has been completed. In fact, I'll even let you hear him congratulate the entire crew after a 134-day shoot across Italy. So this has been over 20 years in the making. I remember going and seeing The Passion of the Christ when I was just a kid. I don't know what year that came out, but I remember we were encouraged by my Protestant church I grew up in, a Methodist church, and I went with my parents, and we watched The Passion of the Christ. And I remember it was, again, seeing the very violent depiction of the crucifixion was incredibly emotional for me as a child. I remember crying during that movie, but excited to see what he puts together in the resurrection of the Christ. And the word is, as we already know, Mel Gibson spent time on Mount Athos, and he recently spent time in Serbia over at some monasteries and hanging out with monks, that he actually consulted some Orthodox clerical voices in regards to his movie. So, Mel Gibson's a sedevacantist. He's one of the people that sees the problems with the Catholic Church. Yet, I don't think he's there to actually let go of Rome and realize that it's Rome that broke away from Christ Church in 1054. Okay. So hopefully he does. Hopefully he does. How cool would it be if Mel Gibson actually converted? I think that would be fantastic. But anyways, here's him congratulating the crew. I just want to actually, it's kind of hard to hear. There's so much muffling. We'll move on. We got so much to cover today. Now this is pretty interesting, and it goes right into what I was just telling you about what we're going to be discussing in the next reading project in the Logos Academy, which is the Book of Enoch. So this was going around and making the rounds on social media, is that this gentleman, Mauro Biglino, is a Hebrew translationist for the Vatican, and he's done this for years, and apparently he was fired for speaking up on what the translations revealed. Now, as you would suspect, it's the official narrative. It's that the Nephilim, the giants, the Watchers, they're actually aliens, and that they created alien-human hybrid species. Now, we're going to be covering all this in the Logos Academy. There's really very, very little evidence for that reading, no matter what your knowledge of Hebrew is, because we've even looked at this. It does not specifically identify aliens. But this guy got fired from the Vatican and is claiming that the Book of Enoch is about non-human intelligences. The entire biblical book is about these super intelligent entities controlling us, which he believes world religions are also a part of. So his argument is humanity is a cargo cult influenced by superior intelligences, engineered genetically by these intelligences, and world religions, including the overarching narratives of monotheistic texts, have their roots in direct interactions between humans and non-human intelligences. These interactions are referenced more profoundly in the original translations, he argues. So this is the kind of stuff that we are trying to combat in our reading of the Book of Enoch, because this is the sort of conspiratorial, low-tier interpretation. And no wonder he got fired from the Vatican. I mean, it's not exactly Christian in any way, but it also fits exactly with the narrative, with Spielberg's Disclosure Day coming out, with Spielberg saying that Christians are going to lose their faith. What are the chances that someone from the Catholic Church, from the Vatican, is now spouting the exact same talking point? So here's Biglino.
In 1 minute, when I started to write what I really read in the Hebrew Bible, I was fired in 1 minute. Let us make man in our image. Man has become like one of us. Let us go down. Multiple divine figures in the Bible.
Okay, so he just confused three different verses. Being made in our image refers to the three persons of the Trinity. the plurality Elohim used referring Yahweh or the Trinity is the plurality is referring to the personhoods. So that's a basic, again, theological understanding. It's interesting that they used aspects of an Orthodox church in their video, but okay, so he just took two passages regarding the Trinity and the plural of Elohim and said this must mean that they're aliens.
Different name of gods in the Bible. If Elohim are not God, the Bible is entirely another book. So the Elohim were individuals in flesh and blood with a life much longer than the life of humankind, but they were mortal. And the Elohim group of individuals, an higher civilization with higher knowledges and higher technology, higher powers, those are all flying objects that are clearly and precisely described technologically in the Bible.
So it's basically Von Daniken, ancient aliens theory. This is the supposed Hebrew translator for the Vatican. Notice how, again, and how you read scripture, it's all about your paradigm, right? The difference between hermeneutics and exegesis, for anybody who's not aware, hermeneutics is basically your interpretive framework. It's, for using philosophical language, it's your paradigm, it's your presuppositions. So you can create a theoretical framework like critical theory. That is your hermeneutic, critical theory. Then you read, Huckleberry Finn through a hermeneutical lens of critical theory, and what you pull from it, that is called exegesis. Exegesis is the content you pull. Hermeneutics is the frame in which provides the context of the information you're going to pull. So those are the differences. Now, how you read Elohim or the Watchers in Genesis 6 and stuff like that, that is entirely dependent on your hermeneutics. If when you hear about God or angels being in the sky and you immediately think that has to be a UFO, that's a paradigmatic problem. That's not an exegetical problem. That's not the scripture saying that. That's your own presuppositions saying that. So keep that in mind when he's talking here. It's not like he's some sole authority. Okay, this is one guy from the Vatican claiming to put forth essentially Von Daniken's ancient aliens theory.
The system controlling the world is the system clearly described in the Bible. There are a sort of preparation.
If it was disclosed that the Bible translation is not correct and there are many beings and this is more of a historical book, and these interpretations of God may actually be other beings from other worlds, do you think that would destroy these religions, or do you think they would adapt?
I think...
Dun, dun, dun. Again, so much propaganda. So much propaganda. It's the narrative that you would expect them to put forth, that, oh, the Bible's been translated. Oh, interestingly enough, no one got any of these ancient alien theories until the 20th century when the UFO phenomenon occurred. And somehow everybody's able to now understand that really what's going on is the alien grays. It's Zecharia Sitchin's Anunnaki theory. We were all genetically manipulated so that we would mine gold for their space civilization. I mean, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's amazing how popular this stuff is. It's got almost a million views from yesterday, that one video. So that is why, if you want to not be conditioned by, fragmented YouTube clips and New Age spirituality being infused in Christianity, you actually want serious study of the Book of Enoch, you need to sign up to the Logos Academy and join us, because that's what we'll be doing. But it's kind of part and parcel of the Catholic Church. Color me shocked that a translator for the Vatican actually was never Christian at all and filled with like worldly modernist presuppositions. it's kind of indicative of the Catholic Church, just like this video. This is by VaticanCatholic.com, which is like basically a trad Catholic YouTube channel. And they're even addressing the fact that they're now doing LGBTQ masses. So, one of the last redeeming qualities the trad Catholics always try to say is, oh, no, but the Catholic Church, we're really good on sexuality, anti-abortion, anti-homosexuality and trans. Not really. Not really, because even though we've been arguing that's not the case for a long time with all the pedophile priests and the weird masses for Pope Francis. Remember, like the gay gymnasts, like dancing for him. So we've already, major suspicion has already been underway. But now they're literally doing LGBTQ masses. We're just going to watch the first minute and a half of this video. But you see it for yourself.
We are thrilled to host our annual Pride Mass at the Stonewall National Monument on Thursday, June 26th at 6:30 p.m. We will be celebrating Mass outdoor in the park, and we look forward to welcoming all at our table. It is a tremendously exciting opportunity for us to minister to people who have never heard of us before. It's really beautiful. Lastly, I do want to also say, we are sponsoring Welcome Weekend this weekend, and we would love for you to come and join, celebrate the beginning of Pride Month.
Are they not aware that we who are LGBTQ are also living now in Christ? That we are Christ? Christ is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer. In Christ, I am lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender.
What? What? Hold on. In Christ, you are homosexual and trans. What? What? No, the boundary that Christ broke down was between Jew and Gentile, not between male and female. What? Unbelievable. Well, I got to watch that again. This is a priest. This is a Catholic priest from the pulpit. Oh my gosh. Catholics down bad. Down bad. Protestantism's over. Protestantism's not even down bad. Protestantism is lost. They are just one generation away from a fraction of their attendees. I mean, I'm not even joking. Once the boomers are gone, Protestantism is over. Catholicism, a little bit different. But boy, Tradcath's down bad. Listen to this again.
You are also living now in Christ? That we are Christ? Christ is lesbian, gay, bisexual.
Christ is not lesbian. Christ is not gay. Christ is not bisexual. What?
Sexual, transgender, and queer.
No, he's not any of those things.
In Christ, I am lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and...
Now that I do believe. You probably are gay. You probably are gay. What was somebody posted earlier. I didn't even see it. It was moving through the chat. Oh, here it is. Hey, Catholics, why are you gay? Why are you so gay? Unbelievable.
and queer. One of the graces of pride.
On this last week, come to a close of celebrating the Sacred Heart of Jesus, but also Pride Month. May we be mindful of love and what love looks like.
Yeah, love does not look like sodomy. Love does not look like two women scissoring each other. Love does not look like some chick that had a mastectomy with scars across her chest. Love does not look like an inverted penis made into a makeshift vagina. That isn't love either. So the irony that they're standing there on the pulpit announcing the graces of pride, the mother of all sin.
For our LGBTQ plus brothers and sisters, that the Holy Spirit confirm them in the knowledge that their life partners are a blessing for themselves and everyone else. We pray to the Lord.
Lord, hear our prayer.
God is not going to grant as a blessing your HIV and AIDS. That is a problem for you going against nature itself. This is pretty clear, but this is where the Catholic Church is right now.
I miss you all terribly. I miss out of St. Paul's. I miss the gay spirit that infuses this community.
It's Pride Month, of course.
And you want to talk about a gay spirit? I don't remember the church, but I did a sociological course when I was living in Berkeley. And it was about again, this is a modernist, progressive, socialist professor. He's a Jesuit, works with the Jesuit school. So keep that in mind. But it was a course in which we were analyzing one of the books, or his book in particular was a surveying of the different Catholic churches around the Bay Area and looking at the differences of their communities. Some, for example, were immigrant heavy. Some were white American heavy, which tended to be more traditional, trad Latin masses. There was one church that we covered in San Francisco, the Catholic Church, who venerated all those who had died of AIDS. It was an openly pro-homosexual church. It was openly pro-transgender. It was known that the people in those communities would actually flock to give some type of veneer of a religion or some type of traditional faith, all backed by that priest. I was even told that they, not like saints per se, but they had pictures of everyone there who had died of AIDS, and people spoke of them as martyrs. So that's in San Francisco. That thing exists today.
Of course, and we celebrate our LGBT+Q community.
And on this Pride weekend, that we celebrate the beauty found in diversity.
Today is Pride Sunday. If you're going to celebrate Pride today, we send you with God's love and our love and support.
This is Brother Michael Diamond, VaticanCatholic.com.
This is Michael. Okay, we're gonna be done there, but you get it. You get the idea. And if any Catholic wants to come out and say, "Oh yeah, but the new American Pope, he's not for it." Oh really? Because this is Pope Leo right here saying that the Catholic Church's teaching on sexual ethics must be less prioritized over greater and more important issues. So why would he do that? Because this is an obvious line in the sand. If the Pope condemns homosexuality and transgenderism, which they should, upholding the historic teachings on sexual ethics of the Catholic Church, well, that's going to cause a cultural conflict. And instead of dealing with that, we need to prioritize more important issues. For example, for him, people get to immigrate to the United States and Western European nations en masse. And we, out of Christian love, must accept it. So he goes on to say, we tend to think that when the church is talking about morality, that the only issue of morality is sexual. No, but that's the big one of today, my guy. And in reality, I believe there are much greater, more important issues such as justice, equality, freedom of men and women, freedom of religion, that would all take priority before that particular issue. Huh? The Catholic Church's priority is the freedom of religion? Shouldn't you be doing apologetics? Shouldn't you be trying to convince people of your authenticity as the historic church? Shouldn't you be defending yourself against the rise of Islam in Europe? Oh, I forgot. Chrislam. I forgot that the Catholic Church is actually part and parcel of the religion of Antichrist, which is not one religion. It's just that all the religions out of ecumenism and perennialism agree that they're all equal. That is the religion of Antichrist. The Orthodox Church is clear. The contemporary saints, recent saints, that's why they say ecumenism is the number one heresy. Why? Not because it is such a grave sin, it's going to prevent your salvation. It's because that is the basic pillar of the Antichrist faith. And if you believe that, then you will be led astray. You will lose your salvation. You know, the idea that all religions kind of have a truth, yeah, that's logos spermaticos. But what epistemology are you using? What metaphysical framework can you even say that this is true and this is false? That's the problem with perennialism, the problem with ecumenism. And unfortunately, it seems to be the modern day dogma of the Catholic Church, is they're indicative of where the world is going. Now, this one I shared, I played this video. I'll play it again because I think it's so interesting. I played it during the last stream with Dr. Mo on, we were talking about looks maxing and how it's essentially creating beta males who are incredibly feminized. Now, despite this coming from a woman, what she has to say is very, very interesting because it deals with a study demonstrating how men and women view justice in very different ways. Check this out.
There was a study done where men and women were hooked up to brain scanners as they watched people play a game. They got to see whether the people playing the game were playing fairly or whether they were cheating at the game. And the people playing were connected to electric shock machines. So electric shocks would go into these people as they were playing, and they would measure the brains of the men and women watching. So every time a player that was playing fairly got an electric shock, both men and women's empathy centers lit up. Whenever an electric shock would go into a person that was cheating, women's empathy centers lit up just the same as with the fair playing person, but men's empathy centers did not light up at all. Actually, their pleasure center lit up. Super key psychological distinction between men and women.
So fascinating reason why really we shouldn't even have female judges. Now, I know that will never happen in the West. It's never going to happen in America, but it shows a very interesting element to how men and women actually judge situations in regards to the justice and outcome of that situation. What she just said is when men and women watch someone cheat, the empathy system and the man is not activated. Whereas when they watch two people get electrocuted who are not cheating, playing a game, both the men and the women say, oh man, that's too bad. They're not even doing anything wrong. Why are they getting electrocuted? Empathy triggers in the brain. When they know that they're cheating, men actually get pleasure from seeing someone cross the boundaries. So again, this would be the rules of the game. But as I always talk about with boundaries and boundary dissolution, it has to do with masculinity. Anytime boundaries are crossed, violence should occur in some way. That's the way men handle things. We maintain boundaries, and violence occurs when those boundaries collapse or are crossed. So the men, their pleasure center triggers. They enjoy seeing the man get electrocuted who's cheating. But the women, their empathy center still triggers, which explains why we have all these female judges letting out sex criminals, violent criminals over and over again. Remember with Zarina, the Ukrainian chick who was killed on the bus by the black guy who had been arrested like 29 times for violent crimes and let out over and over and over again. There was just a black judge in Florida who let out two criminals that had long histories of violent crime. One of them was for pedophilia and rape. And what did he do within 2 weeks of her letting him out of jail again? After multiple charges against him, he raped and killed a child. I think they were 13 years old. And that's what caused Ron DeSantis to try to get this woman debarred and kicked out of being a judge. But unbelievable. This is not a criticism of like women shouldn't be that way. That's fine. That's how God made women. The criticism is what we have a society, again, the red pill calls it the gynocentric world order, that allows women to be in positions of power in which their own brain chemistry would prevent them from making a truly executive decision regarding justice. There must be consequences for justice to occur. What that just demonstrated is women avoid the consequences of when boundaries are crossed. They should not be in places of power in the same degree. For example, we're going to see today there was attempted mass shooting in Canada, in Montreal. During the shootout, One of the female cops opens fire on a civilian who ironically turned out to be a Jewish rabbi. So, and I'm going to play that because Sam Hyde has a hilarious clip when he talks about how whenever you see a female cop, put on your bulletproof jacket and say a prayer. Unfortunately, again, God rest the soul of that rabbi, innocent guy, literally just walked out and the female cop just shot him multiple times. So Sam Hyde wasn't wrong. Other news, we're not going to focus on this. It's not a huge deal, but interesting is that on June 29th, the Large Hadron Collider in CERN is going to be shut down for over 2 years. So I'm not going to read the article or anything. You guys can look it up, but I found that interesting. It's supposed to be operational and running out again in 2030. So when I read the article, there's talks of even shutting down the Large Hadron Collider, which is like the most expensive scientific object on the planet. I forget how many billions of dollars have been invested in that to smash atoms together. And now they're thinking maybe we should shut it down. We're not getting a lot of science from it. So they're supposed to be making upgrades or doing something, but it's going to be shut down for a few years, really. What's going on in Canada? So we're going to get to all these Europeans and these foreigners coming to the United States and loving America and making all these videos about the food and our grocery stores and, you know, stuff like that. Air conditioning, I guess, is a huge hit with the Europeans. But here's an interesting thing. If you watch all those videos, I have yet to see one that's about Canada. I've seen videos about Mexico because in Guadalajara and Mexico City, they're hosting World Cup games. And you're seeing foreigners talk about how much they like the Mexican people. It's their first time to Mexico, loving the food and the cuisine and the culture. And then tons, thousands, hundreds of thousands of videos regarding how much people love America. But not a single one is about Canada. Not a single, they're hosting games in Vancouver. Not a single video of people saying, wow, I love Canada. I'd really love to move to Canada. Well, in other Canadian news, the Canadian police chief was forced to make a video statement after his officers started running the plates of attractive women coming out of coffee shops and gyms. Ottawa Police Chief Eric Stubbs is calling on officers who use police databases to meet women to quit. Stubbs says these officers are turning police databases in their own way to meet women. We've seen members messaging vulnerable victims on calls that they've attended in an attempt to develop an intimate relationship. So that's going on. And then here's the video I was telling you about. So you'll see female Montreal police officer. This was before it's been proven. We now know for a fact this was a civilian. Guns down an innocent man. Now, as I said, what we now know is this is actually a rabbi. So
why is he walking?
Okay, so we're going to turn the sound off. There's the female officer. You see her going across right there. And then she takes a position behind this plant. And you see people laying on the ground right here because there's fire. And one of the police officers actually gets shot and is killed. Well, here she is loading her gun or doing something. You see the dead police officer right there, shot and killed on the street. She took out that guy who's right next to the police officer. You see, there's a police officer hiding, taking cover. She takes out the guy just standing next to him, trying to find cover, which only is appropriate then to play this clip here.
If you ever catch the eye of a female cop, hope you wore your bulletproof vest. Hope you got your vest on, man. I am praying for you, unironically, because that gun on her waist at some point is going to accidentally go off. She's going to draw it out thinking it's a taser. She's going to have her finger on the trigger before she's ready to fire.
The officer drew their handgun instead of their taser.
Something you did made her feel threatened. You're taller than her. She feels threatened for her life. The only recourse she has physically is to shoot you.
This was an accidental discharge.
I just hope that if you ever get pulled over by a woman, you're wearing a fucking bulletproof vest and a Kevlar helmet. I hope you're decked out like a PUBG character, because that's what you need to survive a female cop encounter.
Sad but true. Sad but true. Wow. So obviously that video was in reference to, this was what, 6 months ago or so, when the woman thought she pulled her taser out and then shot a man dead after a traffic stop. But man, you know, our rest in peace to the gentleman that was shot and killed by this female officer. In other news, women cop is oxymoron. Well, it should be. It should. I mean, but it shows the type of societies that we live in. Why do we even have so many female cops? I get having some female cops because there's situations in which having a woman with a victim, it makes things easier. Maybe the victim's more open to talk about issues with a female than a male. That makes sense. However, the amount of women police officers, how many videos do we watch? How many videos are get posted a week of people having encounters with female officers and they're totally unhinged? They may not even know the statutes. They get overwhelmed. They get confuddled very easily. Just as I said, we shouldn't have a bunch of females in the military. We shouldn't have a bunch of female police officers. In fact, there was a study done even amongst women. It was like in the 70 percentile, they would prefer having a male officer. Remember the whole debate? This was like a year ago about female firefighters and how they couldn't even carry the body of someone who, let's say they passed out due to smoke inhalation. They are not even strong enough to get your body out of the house. What are we talking about? Female firefighters. It's pathetic. It's all pathetic. Anyways, in regards to technology news, have you guys seen the latest regarding Fable and Mythic, the latest version of Anthropic's AI? Well, it was given access, or at least not access, but it was given the opportunity to see if it could break into the NSA database. And the test was a failure for the NSA. The AI was trying to break in and it walked right through. It did it within the matter of minutes. This is AI's Anthropic model Mythos, not Mythic, Mythos. And it got into almost all of the government's most secret networks in hours, not weeks. Senator Mark Warner raised it in hearing to make a bigger point. Mythos, thank God it was Anthropic when the head of the NSA and Cyber Command came and said, this tool broke into almost all our classified systems, not in weeks, but in hours. And they polled Fable. I don't know if you're aware of this. I was talking with a gentleman who was actually using it for business purposes. And the whole thing got polled. I don't know if I even have the article. I didn't have an article. I was reading an article about it earlier, but Fable was so good. So I was talking with someone who used it for coding. So that was his purpose, not just asking, general questions, getting the AI to answer or make thumbnails, but literally using the AI for a financial software that he created regarding the healthcare system and sort of getting away from the third-party payment systems and creating one that's more integrated for cardiologists and various departments in the hospital. And he created the software, but it had some bugs. And he said Fable was out for 2 days and he used them for those 2 days when it first came out. He said he was able to use Fable and it was able to do the work that would take an individual, say, over a week to do and finding problems in the code and patching them back up. It did it in like 4 hours, fixed his entire software. He said it was absolutely incredible. And then the US government pulled it. They requested that Anthropic pull. You cannot use Anthropic's Fable right now. And they requested that Anthropic not give any other nation state access to that AI. And the reason why I bring it up and I find it important is because it is indicative of a next generational leap in AI technology. And again, whatever you think ultimately about AI is a tool. It can't be evil in of itself, but the competency of what it can accomplish is absolutely increasing. We're even seeing this with now video generation models, even Grok Imagine, very, way better than just a year ago. So it's crazy that this was given to the public for 2 days, and the U.S. government demanded that Anthropic shut it down. So now if you go to Anthropic, you try to use Fable, it'll say that you don't have access or it doesn't exist anymore. It exists. It definitely exists. And Mythos is the higher version. So Mythos is the Anthropic version. Fable is Anthropic's version for the public. But even Fable got pulled because of worries of its ability to hack into things, especially regarding computer code and things like that. So just trying to make you guys aware of what's going on. No more intention than that. James throws in 10. Thank you so much, James. Really appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the support. We're trying to reach a 30 super chat goal today. So if you appreciate this content, if you have any questions or comments, please support the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. DPH, I've been a fan of your channel for a long time, but I'm a lousy pay piggy. Oh no, not a lousy pay piggy. Those are the worst. Thanks for all the great content. Well, James, thank you, brother, for the support, and thanks for being here, man. I greatly appreciate that. Nathaniel throws in 5. Thank you very much, Nathaniel. He says, not surprising that AI could do that. During the Cold War, the U.S. nuclear codes were who knows what the U.S. codes are now, or even the defense quality of classified information. I'm not even sure. But it is noteworthy that, AIs like Fable and Mythos are getting warnings and being pulled from the market by the U.S. government over national security reasons. So that is happening right now. All right. Next story. This has to do with all these.
Apologies.
All these cameras that are going in and around the United States. This is going to connect with a second video here that I want to show you guys. So check this out. This is more of a public service announcement for you guys. This is in Lowell, Massachusetts, growing data center in American neighborhood. You won't believe what they've done to this neighborhood. Check this out.
To you guys, I should have actually informed you to wear something that would have covered your face a little bit more, like sunglasses or something.
Why?
Because they have facial recognition in these, and artificial intelligence facial recognition in these cameras, so they can see you. And they'll figure out who you are. I'm Jake Forts, and I'm the resident here in Iowa Street in Lowell, Massachusetts, and you're at my humble abode. So that is the largest part of the Markley Group data center here in Lowell. In Massachusetts, in theory, you can't have a surveillance camera looking at somebody's backyard. And what the hell is that doing in the middle of a residential neighborhood? Without saying too much, being in camera view. It's been ascertained.
Why do you have to say that?
These cameras are high tech. They're $1,000 a pop. You have to be guarded on what you say around here, just because there is so much surveillance and what you do. Come back and actually see like the fishbowl of which I live in. For me in this neighborhood, it started 11 years ago. Markley came and they started lying immediately. 10 years ago, they put the 2 diesel engines. So if you're looking over here, you can see 4 diesel engines. The furthest 2 were never supposed to be there. Actually, none of these 4 were supposed to be there. It didn't explode until they got the AI in there. So when Markley came, they told us that it was going to be one thing, that it wouldn't have a big impact on the community, and that it was going to be Netflix. And it has been anything but that. They've repeatedly changed the site to the point where this neighbor, Eileen, who has 2 water tanks in her backyard, they just popped up there during COVID. They started construction, didn't ask, but it's always do and ask for forgiveness later with this company. These 2 engines here were the first 2 to go in. These went in 2016, and that's when we said, what the hell are you doing? That's not where these were supposed to be. Everything that was mechanical was supposed to be on the other side of the facility. And by the way, don't worry about these folks because they sold out in December to them. Markley owns this. They own all of this. We're the last 2 privately owned houses on this street, and 9 Prince Ave is the last privately owned residence on Prince Ave. When he is done acquiring at cheap cutthroat rates, then this will cease to exist. He already has a plan, which he slipped in 2017, to build another building on the other side of the parking lot, where the parking lot is. Yeah. So where are those people parking? He needs to come this way.
And I was reading an article about it, and they're going to demolish the entire neighborhood. So their whole plan, this massive data center, Markley, not only did they build their building and then violate all the agreements that they said, as you would expect with these data centers. I mean, what we saw in Utah, remember we talked about the data center that Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, he had an interview with Tucker Carlson and was talking about how great the data center is. It's like 48. I think it's on 40 acres of property. And I've already been seeing videos of people showing how you can't even get close to some of these remote data centers across the United States, that there's a perimeter where if you try to fly a drone, it'll get shut down immediately. That as soon as you cross a perimeter, AI is already documenting and scanning and already classifying who you are and pulling up probably through Palantir software, your background, all this different stuff. So that's already happening. But in Utah, they voted the people unanimously against a data center. And then the board, the city council and the board voted unanimously in favor of it because they were getting financial breaks for it. Now, this one I want to show you guys is very, very interesting. We all know Palantir, and we know how invasive Palantir is and how they're creating digital databases of every single one of us in our online engagement. But how many of you guys been following these flock cameras that are being put up everywhere across the United States? Check this out.
And there's no signage on the building. The initial mission was to go there. We were going to film all the license plates, which for those not.
So what he's describing, to give context, is this guy, he's like an investigative journalist. He went, so Flock are these cameras, these AI-backed cameras that are being put up all across the United States that does facial recognition, scanning, uses their cameras to access your license plate, which then as he talks about, so much of your personal information can be accessed through your license plate number. And so he tried to find what was the corporate headquarters of Flock. And what he found was an undercover building where they are incredibly private about what it is that they're doing. And he's making the claim that this is even more dangerous than Palantir, because at least Palantir, the public knows what's going on. These Flock cameras, people have no idea.
Not familiar. Flock Safety is a license plate reader camera system that your city council or your local sheriff votes in. And the argument is, hey, it helps us track violent criminals. And we've seen it in action with the U.S. Marshals, where there's a guy on the run for, a home invasion, and they use it to track him to his house. They move in, they arrest him, guy off the street. So there is positive use applications with Flock Safety. But it's kind of like data centers where these things are creeping into our cities without us really wanting them there. Like the polls I put on Instagram and YouTube were both at about 90% no, I don't want Flock in my city. So the exercise, we were going to film the employee license plates. Then we're going to go to Ben Jordan's house, run it through his algorithm. He made this little software program where we were going to track each license plate. And then it shows all the information that you can get from looking up someone's license plate. And it's a pretty revealing exercise. And so then the second thing we were going to do is put them under surveillance. And so we went to their first headquarters, no signage on the building, completely anonymous. They moved out, and we had a little interaction with their security. They called the cops on us. Boom. We found their next location. We went there, also nondescript building, no signage up front. And we were stopped by the doorman on the first floor. And then, yes. And then the last one, we went to their drone headquarters, where that's part of what they're going to do is like a first responder. They send out a drone to the scene that's something happens, which again could have positive use applications, no doubt about it. But we go to their drone headquarters, and it's a construction company is what the front looks like. And so we look around this entire huge building, nothing says Flock. And so what we do, we had an old Flock camera that these tech guys got off eBay. We had my camera guys.
Can we pull up what that looks like, Beef?
Yeah, they're building.
Yeah.
It might not even be listed. That's
and the cameras.
Thing. And this is part of the point is they're one of the biggest surveillance companies in the country, yet they obviously hold privacy as a really high regard.
Right.
And so a lot of people see cameras like this in their city. So anyways, we started filming their employees, and when they would pull up in their car, and I'd be like, hey, sir, just want to let you know you're under surveillance, but don't worry, it's for your safety. And they were all spooked and they get away. And I was like running with their car with the camera. And then another employee comes up and I'm like, hey, sir, do you work for Flock? He's like, Flock, never heard of it. What's that? I'm actually for this construction company. I'm like, okay, probably not, but okay. Then the police come in, they box our car in from leaving the parking lot. And even people in that business area that were trying to just go to work, they held them there. And they're like, no, you got to talk with this guy before you leave. And I'm like, so are you detaining me? We have a showdown with the police where they wrongfully are just keeping me there, not answering my questions. Anyways, we talked to the Flock guy and he's like, you know what? I felt very unsafe. I said, sir, did you feel unsafe because we were filming you? He's like, yes. I'm like,
oh,
like, come on now.
Shoes on the other foot now, huh, partner?
Yes.
So if you haven't been following all these Flock cameras, you need to be aware of it. And that's why I thought this video was so interesting is Tommy G here had actually done some investigation into it. And what he found is that they're incredibly private and secretive about everything that they're doing. And even though they're recording you and me all across the United States, I mean, it's already been revealed that there's databases that when you get in your car and you start driving, you are being monitored by an AI system. It knows exactly where your vehicle is. It is doing facial recognition. And if you're in a major city, you can be absolutely certain that that is happening. And more rural places, obviously, it's going to be less likely. But they're going into towns across the nation because they just need the sheriff department to approve it. And then they start building them. So even in some of the small rural cities in the United States, we're finding these Flock cameras that are tracking and monitoring everybody. Obese Turtle throws in 5. Thank you very much, my man. He says, it's like mayor of Shelbyville saying only poor people don't want the data centers. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the gaslighting to try to make you think that you being surveilled constantly is for your safety. It's for your safety. Now, can there be safety measures? Sure. I get it. Just like he said, sending emergency drones to situations to scan, the scenario that's happening before police arrive. Yeah. Okay. I can get that. But the problem is we already know that Palantir, the U.S. government's been spying on us since 9/11 with the Patriot Act. So that's the problem is you can feel we're in a true fishbowl and we're totally being monitored. And just like we just did a stream on Marshall McLuhan and his theories about technology. Well, one of the things that he mentions over and over again, and this is in the 60s, is that people who are on camera act differently than people who are in actual private space. And that's what he was arguing is as the electric age moves forward, there will be no privacy. And even the privacy inside of ourselves will be externalized, that Big Brother will know everything about us. And so now if you're wearing a Whoop or some type of medical wearable, all that information is being tracked, right? Yes, they can't do something to you. It's not like an Israeli pager. But what do you think is happening with all that data? In Homo Deus, the last chapter that Yuval Noah Harari, the prophet of the WEF, in the last chapter of his book, he literally talks about how wearable technology is so important and that he believes by 2045, it will be forced. It will be forced by the government that your vitals, that your biological data will all be monitored. And this is his argument. And again, hopefully unlikely that this happens, but he's in the know. He's in the World, Economic Forum. He brushes elbows with some of the global elite, and he's convinced that we will be forced at some point to share our biological data. So keep all that in mind. Catherine throws in $5. Thank you so much, Catherine. She says, for the goal, keep up the good work, DPH. Thank you very, very much. Me and my husband have been learning a lot from your content in the last few years. God bless. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the support. God bless you and your husband and your family as well. Really appreciate that. Nevada Precision throws in 5, says, but I'm not doing anything wrong. Why does it matter? It doesn't matter if you're doing anything wrong. It does not matter. The whole point is, and this is part of the whole thing about these data centers is, yeah, obviously it's going to take tons of data and space to run these advanced AI systems. Now, that's what they tell us, that's what it's about. However, the whole point, I mean, you realize that every single person on the planet is going to be monitored entirely. So I just talked about your biological data. We're talking about your search engine, your search history, everything you've clicked on, every social media post you've interacted with, every text message you've sent, every phone call you've made, every time you've left your house. All of that is being compiled in a file. And so to do that for 8 billion people, yeah, you're going to need a lot of data. And that's not all of it. I mean, it's not like all the data is just to surveil us. It's for a lot of different things. But why do they need so much data? Why do they need 40 acres for data centers? And there's now hundreds across the United States. And we've had a couple here in Indiana get shot down because the people don't want them. Just like, funnily enough, the people didn't want windmills that kill all the birds and stuff. And the government didn't stop them there. And many of the windmills in the U.S. turned out to be a waste of money. But anyways, I digress. Thank you very much, Nevada Precision, for the $5 super chat. God bless you, my man. Appreciate the support. Thank you, guys. Okay, next story. Now, this is not important, but I thought it was funny. Is an Oklahoma fireworks stand caught on fire over the weekend, and this was the scene by people driving by. So obviously very dangerous with a fire, a fireworks stand catching on fire, but a beautiful show nonetheless. So that happened in Oklahoma over the weekend. Here is a little interesting thing. I don't really follow a lot of the pop cultural news, but this was interesting nonetheless. It has to do with Tory Lanez. I'm not even familiar. Apparently he's a rapper. Tory Lanez was arrested and gone to jail for the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion. At least that's what we were told. And it turned out Congress and Anna Paulina, thank you, or Anna Luna. What is that senator's name? What is her name? Luna. Yeah. Luna. I don't know what. Anyways, she got information that Jay-Z was covering up this case, and they found out that Tory Lanez's fingerprints were not even on the weapon that Megan Thee Stallion was supposedly shot with. The story is Tory Lanez wanted her to dance. She refused to dance, and he started shooting bullets at her feet like a cartoon. And one of the bullets hit her, and she got shot. And Jay-Z and Rock Nation then gave Megan Thee Stallion all these lawyers to use in the prosecution of Tory Lanez. Well, turns out his fingerprints weren't even on the gun. He claimed innocence the whole time. And now there's a lot of interest about Jay-Z potentially being behind this whole prosecution and trying to put him away for other personal reasons.
2022. Singer, rapper Tory Lanez, convicted of shooting performer Megan Thee Stallion after a party at the Hollywood Hills home of Kylie Jenner. Here's the story. They're at the party. After the party, they get into an argument. Lanez tells Megan Thee Stallion, dance, and shoots at her feet like a cowboy movie, hits her. Proof? Testimony of Megan Thee Stallion, her friend Kelsey Harris, and DNA evidence on the weapon that convinced jurors to convict. Pretty simple, right? Maybe not. Turns out that DNA, only a 0.01% chance that the DNA is from Lanez. He's always maintained his innocence. He was sentenced to 10 years. So this is really about the testimony. Lanez, so what happens? So he goes away, recently stabbed 14 times in prison. Many say it was a hit, okay? Because new evidence is about to come out. All right, a little conspiratorial, but he was definitely stabbed. Lanez supporters believe that the media doesn't care because Megan Thee Stallion is represented by Jay-Z's Rock Nation. Now, I could give a damn about Jay-Z or his company. This just wasn't a case on my radar until now. Why? Anna Paulina Luna. She is a representative from Florida. You see her here on a regular basis. She says she's got new evidence, says it wasn't him. And she joins us now.
We're not going to watch all of Annalena, Paulina, Luna talk about it. But basically what it amounts to is that parties related to Tory Lanez was able to get a hold of congressmen and congresswomen and provide them actual empirical evidence demonstrating the impossibility of Tory Lanez actually committing this crime. And what she doesn't say explicitly, because she said this, it's all alleged, but that Jay-Z wanted to kill him. And that's what the whole 14 stabbing in jail was about, is that there must have been some other beef going on. The idea is that Jay-Z convinced Megan Thee Stallion to lie under oath about what happened, knowing that he's not the one that shot her. And she was represented by Jay-Z's Rock Nation lawyers, which are all, part of the same tribe and affiliated with the DNC, all this stuff. Megan Thee Stallion was twerking, remember, at Kamala Harris's presidential campaign, literally twerking for people. So it's believed that there's a lot more going on beneath the surface level of this incident that we don't know about. But potentially Jay-Z in another instance of potentially being in hot water. So again, don't really care about the Jay-Z stuff, but thought it was worth sharing with you guys. This is really interesting. How many of you guys saw this video of Riley Gaines? So Riley Gaines, a conservative media darling, former swimmer at the University of Kentucky, was really gained prominence because she spoke out against transgenders. I forget that one dude that, what did he swim for? Like Penn, University of Pennsylvania. Was a failed male swimmer for like 2 years in college and then identified as a woman and was able to compete against women, just dominating them in the pool. Well, she was considered like the top female swimmer and she was getting second to him. She spoke out against it. Again, conservative outlets loved it. And she has some good conservative takes regarding transgenderism, stuff like that. Okay. Well, she's now backed by TPOC. She works very intimately with TPUSA now, post Charlie Kirk. Again, no problem with that. But this video was not supposed to be made public. Somehow this video was leaked of her doing commercials for, what was it, Patriot Mobile or something like that. Yeah, Patriot Mobile. So a conservative phone provider. And it shows how she was basically will say anything for the right amount of money and is asking them what she's supposed to say during her live stream. This is like a commercial during her live stream. So check this out. And this should open your eyes to so many of the people in conservative media. You really don't know how many people are getting paid and how many people are being influenced by various corporations, by various interest groups. Now, she's one of the people that is very reluctant to speak out against Israel, even though that's becoming much more popular now. But she's very reluctant to speak out against Israel. She is a Zionist. And here is her with a video that was not supposed to be made public.
Tell me the pillars again. So it's pro-life.
First Amendment, Second Amendment, essentially life and veteran.
Okay. First, second. Yep. Cool. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life.
You make a great point here, Kristen. She says, I'm convinced the conservative versus progressive thing is just a marketing campaign like Pride Month. It sure seems that way. These people will speak out against LGBTQ and then you find out they have like gay best friends that are their hairdresser or whatever. It does seem that way. And I don't have anything against Riley Gaines. I've never really followed her. Again, I don't watch women make content. I can't really listen to women. So there is no female. Maybe a Candace Owens things that goes viral. But anyway, so I don't watch female content. But very revealing. Watch how, again, she has to find out what the conservative pillars are. And then it, this comes from her heart.
The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, our veterans, I feel very passionately about. Do you guys, if you're going to talk about, I mean, you hate to even call them political issues, but do you specifically say like the left or the right, or is that something you try to kind of refrain from? Like if I were to say something to the effect of like the left is still doubling down.
Yeah, you can say. Okay, I've heard you introduce from the beginning, so.
Okay, first, that's what I needed to figure out really quick is when I first, I mean, definitely over a year though. I would say, can I just say that like around 2 years ago? Wait, tell me the pillars again. So it's pro-life.
So, First Amendment, Second Amendment, sanctity of life, and veteran.
Okay.
And
First, second. Yep. Hello, my name is Riley Gaines, and I'm a very, very proud Patriot Mobile user, and I have been for about 2 years now.
Sure you are. Sure you are. Yeah. Broccoli says we should stop calling them conservatives. A more correct description is right liberals. They are liberals. Well, it's all classical liberalism, right? That's why if you don't have orthodoxy or even trad Catholicism or something pre-modern, your paradigm is going to be a modernist classical liberal paradigm. Like it's just going to be. That is the default of everyone's mind. So it's one of the problems with the political dialectic in America for sure. And here, we're not going to watch this whole thing.
Controversy.
Well, it's only an hour or a minute 29. This is about Ilhan Omar. Remember, this was, how many months ago did I cover this? I would say probably 4 or 5 months ago, we were covering the Ilhan Omar scandal regarding her winery. Do you remember this? And she supposedly was making hundreds of millions, but didn't claim them on taxes. And basically, she was being investigated for financial fraud. Her husband was claiming millions of dollars that people didn't know that they had. And turns out they never sold a single bottle of wine. So people became confused. How is it that you just claimed like you made $30 million and yet there's not a single bottle of wine we can find made by your winery? Of course, Muslims, as Ilhan Omar is Somalian and a Muslim, make sure she wears her little garb every time she's seen publicly, hates white men, but married to a white man, that they're not supposed to drink alcohol. Why would a Muslim woman own a winery? That makes no sense. Well, they just made news again because their latest financial disclosures show her husband earned $200 to $1,000 from his now closed wine business with zero salary from its venture firm. Well, that's weird because he said he claimed $30 million in profit, and now claiming it's an accounting error. Now, I do my own taxes. I've never made an accounting error where $30 million was mistaken for only $1,000 profit. Now, maybe I'm just not doing taxes right. That has never happened to me. So here is the investigation, the new investigation, of which nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. We do have the indictment of James Comey by the FBI and Kash Patel, but I have little faith in Kash Patel. So is anything going to come from the indictment against James Comey? I mean, clearly James Comey is a globalist, part of the whole elite establishment. Nothing's going to come from it. Nothing's going to come from this. That's the whole frustration. Until I see someone go to jail, it's just talking at this point. But here is the latest news regarding Ilhan Omar's financial crisis.
After another for Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, after all of these issues surrounding her reported wealth, and this has all been chronicled in the New York Post, Omar's husband, Tim Minette, once listed his net worth to be up to $30 million in 2024, and that caused a push for an investigation into the business holdings of the couple, but that ended up being a clerical mistake, according to the Congresswoman. Instead, a new filing has listed her assets between $20,000 and $125,000. Big difference. Minette's net worth is the most staggering part of this, though, with a reported income between $200 and $1,000. And despite that low income, Minette's company, Roselake Capital, reported income between $100,000 to $1 million. His defunct wine-based company reported around $5,000 in income of last year. The latest filing will no doubt add further scrutiny to Omar, with Republicans continuing to push for an investigation into her private holdings. An RNC spokesman told the New York Post this: voters see right through the corrupt lies of Ilhan Omar. Omar has spent her entire career covering up Democrat-enabled fraud that cost taxpayers billions, so it's no surprise that she would do the same for her husband.
No doubt. No doubt. As you guys were saying, she went to the Leering Center. So that's why she's so good at math. Apparently, she needs help figuring out how to cover up her tracks regarding all her crime and fraud, because she's not doing a great job about it. I mean, changing your income that dramatically from the same year, it doesn't exactly make you look good. So, yeah, politics is fake and gay. It's all kayfabe. Politics is all kayfabe. And that's the unfortunate part. Too bad we don't have a real leader like, Putin or something, where maybe it's not so much kayfabe and there's actually something being done, or an actual leader who cares about his country. That would be a nice change. That would be a nice change. So smash that like. We're now going to get into all the Israeli news, and this is really, I would say, the biggest news story going on right now. Has to do with, obviously, we've been covering the shifting opinions of Israel, especially amongst younger generations. But now there's been a falling out between Trump and Netanyahu, and the signaling between the Trump administration and the Israeli administration, absolute opposite. And I'm going to show you all those videos as we move through here. And I'm going to show you the clips in which Trump begins to actually speak out against Israel. We covered last time that he acknowledged that he called Netanyahu effing crazy. And then, and I don't know if it's in the video clip that we have for today, he even insinuated that al-Jilani, the former al-Qaeda leader of Syria right now, right, the reformed terrorist who's now had a bounty by the U.S. government, is now the president of Syria after they outed Assad. Well, Trump made a comment that he is a more reasonable person to deal with than Netanyahu and the Israelis, especially regarding the protection of civilians. So that's where we're at. Trump making public statements regarding the former al-Qaeda terrorist as a more reasonable person than the Netanyahu administration. So again, no lie detected. No lie detected. And Israel's doing everything they can to make people hate them more. It's a fact. It's the most despised nation on the planet. I saw a poll. I didn't save it, but there was a poll. What was it done? A week or 2 weeks ago. And this was a general sample of the world population. There was not even a second place that was close to Israel. The entire, this was, I forget, it was different continents, a handful of different countries, people being polled on their sentiments towards Israel. And it was like, I forget the exact number, 70 to 80% of the world viewed Israel in a negative light. And so you think they would just stop? Maybe they'd pull back from Lebanon. They'd stop killing civilians, but they don't. In fact, if you're anticipating, because Netanyahu is getting ready to face an election, he's trying to get reelected, but there's serious contenders. And the person who's the leading second contender to Netanyahu, I don't remember his name, but I saw a video, at least it was translated. I don't speak Hebrew, but he said that the problem with Netanyahu is that he's too weak. He said that Netanyahu, if he was a good leader of Israel, would have been able to manipulate and control Trump and make sure he stayed in the Iran war. And so if you're looking for a moderate voice, you're not going to find one. And this guy is considered to be more moderate than Netanyahu. And yet the opinion is that he wasn't manipulable enough of Donald Trump. And they say it out loud. And then they're talking about, I'm going to show you a clip of Ben Gvir, you know, a war criminal. I mean, the dude's a psychopath, absolute psychopath. And Ben Gvir is saying that not one tear should fall from an Israeli woman, despite if that means 1,000 Lebanese women crying, insinuating that it doesn't matter if we kill 1,000 Lebanese people, that doesn't equate to one Jewish person, according to Ben Gvir. It's unbelievable. So we're going to be diving in the entire tab, the entire section of tabs, the whole window here is all Israel stuff, and just catching you up on the latest political intrigue and dynamics that have been occurring recently. So here's one that was making the rounds. This is one version, had multiple versions. This is Tucker Carlson confirming that the FBI confirmed that Mossad in Israel knew the 9/11 attacks were going to occur before they happened. Now, we already know that. Dancing Israelis, the whole conspiracy theories about 9/11. Why did so many Jews not show up to work that day, as if they were all told not to go to work? Well, in this video, it's now confirmed, public knowledge on the record. The FBI has confirmed that Mossad in Israel knew that 9/11 was going to happen.
If the Israeli intelligence service had foreknowledge of 9/11, which they did, according to the American FBI, how is that an ally? You know it's coming and you don't tell us? That's what the FBI said. That's not an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. That's a provable fact because there are photographs from September 10th of Mossad operatives mocking the burning of the World Trade Centers. And you can look them up if you want. And Fox News at one point, right after 9/11, ran that package. Wouldn't do that now. The point is not to attack Israel. The point is to attack the idea that this is an ally. There's nothing allied about that. That's an opponent, a rival, a resentful, dependent nation. And of course, that shouldn't surprise anybody. Dependency breeds resentment. People who take welfare hate the government. Adults who take money from their parents resent their parents. Like dependency always causes resentment, and they resent us. I get it. That's our fault, not theirs, by the way. But the point is, it's all.
Tucker may be a Mason, but I don't know how that nullifies what he's saying. Flex Trends. Says the Jews want everyone to hate Israel so they can get their 6 million sacrifice done. I don't think that's exactly what they want. Although it does kind of play into aspects of Jewish prophecy, at least some of the Christian Zionists, that line, Flex, about everyone hating Jews. Some Christian Zionists actually believe that as we get closer for them to rebuild the third temple, so Christ will come, that the world will turn against Israel. And that's the hermeneutic paradigm that so many Christian Zionists are in. And so they do view the changing sentiments towards Israel as some type of prophetic element to their eschatology. But I don't think Israel necessarily wants the world to hate them. I don't think they want the U.S. to move away from them because we're essential for their safety right now. And if you saw the public comments being made about Donald Trump and Israel, now, again, Trump's a megalomaniac. Trump's been a Zionist, backed by, Miriam Adelson and the millions and millions of dollars she's given him. We all get that. We all understand it. Jared Kushner, Ivanka, we get all that. However, Trump holds grudges. And the things that the Israeli media has been saying, we're going to get to. I mean, Miriam Adelson's own newspaper in Israel wrote essentially a hit piece on Donald Trump. That's why I think there's more meat on the bone here than we realize. So I don't think the Jews are wanting the world to hate them. I truly think they're driven by a spirit right now and they can't stop. And so this is Tucker talking a little bit about the recent fallout between Bibi Netanyahu and Donald Trump.
It's appropriate that we release the agreement, and we did send a copy to Israel, by the way.
We sent Israel a copy of the agreement. Well, you sent them a copy, did you? You BCC'd them? We just reached the outline of a peace agreement with the country we are fighting, with Israel, without consulting Israel, bitch. That's exactly what that means. Shh, adults are talking. At one point, he said, I just think it's just too much. I think going forward, we may leave the fight against Hezbollah to Jelani, who runs Syria. Now, Jelani, of course, is a former Al-Qaeda leader. He's just a more reasonable person. If you're looking for humane treatment of civilians, you got to go to the Al-Qaeda guy, not the Israeli prime minister. That's what the president said. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. Tucker's mannerisms are hilarious. But it is true, and it signifies a real rift between the two. Now, here are some of the videos of Donald Trump himself. This is him saying, we don't need to play this one, but he says, if it weren't for the United States of America, Israel would not exist right now, which is true. Absolutely true. If Israel had to fight their own wars, they wouldn't exist. They can't defend themselves. Fact. And if we didn't sell them all of our weapons, they'd be in even a tougher place, because who's going to sell the weapons to them? Now, here is a really interesting take by Donald Trump, talking about specifically Netanyahu and Israel. Check this out.
Are you frustrated with Netanyahu, sir?
No.
So she was just asked, are you frustrated with Netanyahu? Now, this is a few days after he told him that he's effing crazy. Now, there's a lot of political garbage here trying to soften the edges, but this is a direct attack.
We had a great relationship. We're talking about some end details. I didn't like that he did an attack based on there's a very minor little thing with some drones that were released, and he ends up doing I saw that attack. I saw where that bomb went. Did you see what that was a vicious, that was too much. You can do too much also. But we've had a very effective relationship. Without us, without the United States, there would be no Israel. Without me, there would be no Israel, because no other president was willing to do what I did.
Now, he was duped into it. He's trying to take credit as if he did something great regarding Iran. We'll talk a little bit about the details of the MOU and the peace deal. Essentially, it concedes an Iranian victory. Now, the language doesn't spell that out, but when you look at what the objectives were of Iran and what the objectives were of the U.S., or especially the objectives of Israel, Israel essentially didn't attain any of their objectives except acquiring, southern Lebanon and destroying the infrastructure of Iran. But there was no regime change. There was no, pro-Israeli, pro-Zionist puppet put in power of Iran. There was no color revolution. There was no total decimation of the IRGC. Didn't happen. Now, what was Iran's demands? They claimed, number one, Israel needs to stop their war and genocide against the Palestinians and their war against the Lebanese. That Iran wants all their assets unfrozen. So all the way back in the 1970s, the U.S. froze Iranian assets that were in bank accounts all over the world, really. And it's, I believe, somewhere in the billions of dollars. I don't remember the exact number, but it's well over $1 billion worth of stuff. I believe it was like 30 billion or 300 billion, somewhere in those ballparks worth of assets. And they wanted those back. Now, that's how the U.S. is providing reparations, because the IRGC was talking about, we're not going to stop till the U.S. agrees to pay us reparations for all the damage. Well, the U.S. isn't going to pay them. What they're going to do is unfreeze their assets that have been frozen since the 1970s. And part of the agreement is that money will be used for food and infrastructure, of which the food will all come from American farmers. So the U.S. gets a piece of it. And then the U.S. is going to help them with building infrastructure and stuff like that. But Iran's objectives are essentially all being met in this MOU that they've tentative peace deal that they've signed. Israel's not even at the negotiation table. And this past weekend, this was on Saturday, when Israel then went ahead and started bombing people in Lebanon again. Well, Iran after they had just signed it, they closed the Strait of Hormuz again. And now it's back open. I'll show you a time-lapse video of today. Multiple ships are now flowing through the Strait of Hormuz, which insinuates that Trump is actually right here. They have established some negotiation where Iran has opened the Strait of Hormuz. But we really won nothing. We spent billions and billions of dollars to destroy infrastructure. That's about it.
I've had a great relationship with Bibi, but now Bibi has to be more responsible with respect to Lebanon. Lebanon used to be a great country. It was a country where you had professors, doctors, lawyers. The great intellect was in Lebanon. Now it's terrible. I would say of all countries, they've been treated the worst. And they can't defend themselves. And they have Hezbollah, which is a problem for them. So now I'm not happy with the way Israel has handled themselves with Lebanon and with Hezbollah. They should have been able to do the job faster. It just goes on forever. And when that happens, it throws a negative light on the big deal, and that's the deal with Iran.
And he's right. It absolutely does. And Israel has been doing everything they can to subvert this peace negotiation. This is just talking about something we already covered. And here's J.D. Vance, again, being a little bit more bold in his criticisms of Israel as of late. And there's been a huge push then by AIPAC and some of the Jewish Zionist lobbyists to make sure that he is not elected for president in the next election cycle. Now, we already have our own worries about J.D. Vance, so I'm not here to glaze J.D. Vance or promote J.D. Vance. As I said, I think he's a bit of a chameleon, and he picks up on online culture, I would say, better than probably most of the politicians. And so he's very aware of what the people are posting and what people are thinking. And so I think many of the recent criticisms of Israel from J.D. Vance is a way to ingratiate himself, especially with the younger generation, which fair enough. Well, we appreciate the rhetoric. We appreciate that he's even saying this stuff. But here's a video. I think this is just from, 2 days ago.
Is anti-Semitic. And so I do think that sometimes is anti-Semitic. And so I do think that sometimes, advocates of Israel make, or pro-Israel people in the United States make two critical mistakes. One, on the one hand, is not delineating between America's interests and Israeli interests, because they're not always the same. But the second is always conflating criticism of a particular government with Jew hatred. Because if everything is Jew hatred, then nothing is Jew hatred. I actually think Jew hatred is very bad, which is why I think we have to be very careful about not calling it's kind of like how progressives for 20 years called everything racist. And if everything is racism, nothing is racism, is anti-Semitic. And so I do think that
Well, fair enough. And that racism card, or calling people racist or calling people Nazis, doesn't have the effectiveness it used to. And the same thing is going to be true with anti-Semitism. It's not going to have the same effectiveness. People, we just don't care anymore. Calling out genocide, calling out the deliberate destruction of Christian UNESCO heritage sites, churches, monasteries that have been there for hundreds, if not in some cases over 1,000 years they've stood. And Israel destroyed. It's like, it's not anti-Semitic. These people are bloodthirsty. These people are causing global chaos. And meanwhile, they fund mass immigration towards your nations in Europe and America. Now, obviously, the Catholics are part of that. That's a big problem that people like Fuentes need to address. Like Fuentes needs to own up the fact that Catholic NGOs are actually the largest funder of mass immigration in the United States, followed by usually Jewish-owned NGOs. But in Europe, they're open about it. I've read articles before online about Jews talking about how proud they are of bringing refugees to Europe, and that the rise in Islam and multiculturalism is part of their wish. Now, it gets you back to clergy and all that different stuff. We'll leave that alone, but it's happening. And Here's another video of JD Vance.
I will say, I don't know, maybe I've missed this. I don't think Bibi himself has actually criticized the deal because I think he's maybe a little bit more familiar with the details of what's in it. But yeah, you've seen people in their system, Ben Gvir and Smotrich, who've attacked the deal. And I guess my response to them would be, what is your exact proposal? And, you know, you're a country of 9 million people. You can't just kill your way out of solving every single national security problem that you have. Look at what we've accomplished. I will say,
well, that is their goal. That is exactly their goal, is to kill their way out of the situation they're in. And so this was breaking today. U.S. lifts sanctions on Iranian oil for 60 days until August 21st. Immediately, the markets responded to this news. Now, we've been talking about how Trump's been manipulating the markets with these peace deal talk for months since this war started. However, this is more than just rhetoric, what he's been doing. This is actual policy. I forget how many ships have already gone out of Iran and are now selling oil. Oil prices are dropping. At least I know there's been a drop here in Indiana. We're down about $1 from where it was a month and a half ago. So Iran is now permitted to export oil globally, with exceptions for Cuba, North Korea, and occupied Ukraine. Here, you won't even believe this. You will not even believe this one. Oh, crap. What just happened? No. I have to show you this one. You won't believe this was an Israeli news source. Let me see if I can find it in the history here. Gosh, dang it. I don't even know how did it go? Oh, here we go. We just got to go forward. I have to show you this. So we can't play the audio because they're speaking in Hebrew. But this is an Israeli state adjacent TV has come up with the true explanation of why Trump is actually wanting to sign peace deals and end the war with Iran. You won't believe this. You won't believe this. Israeli state adjacent TV has found the explanation for why Trump signed the Iran deal. It's not $300 billion reconstruction fund or the gas prices or the 37% approval rating. Their claim, this Israeli TV station, is that Iran has an electromagnetic brainwave weapon. and they're causing Trump to think things that aren't his thoughts. So Uri Geller, the spoon-bending guy, went on Channel 14 and explained that Iran has been beaming low-frequency waves into Trump's brain to change his behavior, and that's why the MOU happened. MOU just stands for Memorandum of Understanding. So it's the peace agreement, the peace contract between the two nations. Russia has the technology, North Korea has it, Iran has it, and he won't say who, has already asked Uri Geller to use his psychic abilities to counteract the Iranian mind control. So instead of just admitting that, hey, maybe you guys are a little bit too much and people are kind of jumping off the Israeli wagon here, even Zionists like Trump, it can't be because of the actions of Israel. Of course not. They're victims. They're perpetual victims. What it's from is that Iran is using brain control, like voice of God technology on Trump, and that they're manipulating his mind. So one, it makes Iran seem more powerful than they are, which advances the Israeli cause. And two, makes it seem like Trump is manipulated, that he's not even in control of himself, that this isn't actually a rational decision, because in the Israeli news, they are absolutely in opposition to this peace deal. I think I have a video talking about how 92% of Israelis think that Iran won this war, which again they did, but that Israel and the U.S. have or really it's a criticism of the U.S., not Israel, because Israel plans on not stopping. But the U.S. basically conceded this war, and that the only people that this war affected negatively is the Israelis, and it's made their lives more well, why don't you stop trying to fight everyone? They claim that they're the victims and that they're unsafe, and they're killing innocent people in Lebanon. What are you talking about? So anyways, hilarious stuff there. You had to see that. This is a quick thing about Mark Levin being caught in a lie. Mark Levin claims that he is not a propagandist for the Israeli government, but then covers the fact that he meets with Benjamin Netanyahu regularly. So we'll leave that there. We don't need to dive in too much about it. And well, actually, let's watch it.
Benjamin Netanyahu's chief propagandist in the United States, Mark Levin, was just over in Israel Saturday. And he gave a speech, we're about to play a clip in a moment, where he said, "It's ridiculous. I have no connection to Israel. They don't tell me anything. We don't coordinate at all." Even though it's on record dozens of times, and Levin's talked about it, how he meets with Netanyahu and how they talk about different strategies and how he's one of the biggest people Israel has talking to the president. In Netanyahu's eighth front war, his eighth front in the war of propagandizing the American people, of AIPAC, primary members of Congress that don't do whatever they say, the NDAA trying to merge Israel with our military and intelligence. It's crazy. But then Netanyahu was quoted by the Times of Israel at the same meeting saying, "We're really counting on Mark Levin and others to get our information out in the U.S. in our information war." So as far as I can see, Levin is 100% coordinated with Israel. And to deny that is pure bull. I mean, I think personally he's probably a Mossad officer, probably holds a high rank. I mean, this guy is something else. Israel's totally infiltrated our government. He's been infiltrated into our government since the 80s with Reagan. The guy's a neocon. The guy's a globalist. He's anti-free speech. He's a never-Trumper. Trump has said he's lost a lot of respect for the Israeli hardliners, meaning Levin and Netanyahu, after they've sabotaged all these peace deals and after they gave him bad intelligence on our...
What's wrong with Alex Jones, man? I feel like he's gotten so much better after InfoWars. Dr. Emmy Martinez says, man, Alex Jones hasn't been the same since InfoWars ended. Really? I think he's better now. He's definitely calling out Israel way more than he ever was. Yeah, the new studio looks nice. I agree. That's crazy. I feel like Jones has kind of come around the corner since InfoWars closed. He's way more outspoken than before. Way more outspoken. James throws in 2, says, "Are we sure it wasn't an acorn?" Canadian police. Yeah. Oh, Wicked Wally's in the chat. Shout out to Wicked Wally. He says, "I don't want to hear any more about oppression the next time they want to protest. We gave them every opportunity to rise up and show up." True. True. Facts. Wow. Wicked Wally coming out with a factual statement and not a dad joke. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And guys, if you support this work, please support the channel. A super chat, a comment, greatly appreciated. If you appreciate the type of content, especially speaking out against Israel, I'm going to be doing a stream on the occult roots of Nazism. Like, it doesn't do me any favors with the algorithm when covering these topics, but I think they're incredibly important. And as I talked about in Montana, we have really a duty to speak up about this stuff and not be conditioned to silence our voice because the algorithm and the suppression and all that different stuff. So if you appreciate me speaking out, you appreciate content like this, please support the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Patrick throws in 5, says, ironically, if it weren't for mean Mr. Mustache Man and the Havara agreement, then Israel wouldn't. True. Fact. That's a fact. And the whole post-World War II consensus is falling apart. I really think that is, you make such a good point, Patrick, is looking at the shifting sentiment of Israel. I truly believe that this is part of the degradation of the post-World War II consensus. The idea that they can just appeal back to the Holocaust and victimhood and all the pogroms in history as some type of cover for what it is that they're doing. It's not going to work. And as people lose the support for Israel, really their mind about World War II, I think, is shifting. So I totally agree with you. If it wasn't for the Havara agreement, if it wasn't for the entire paradigm constructed around Hitler, who, again, not even, as we'll talk about, not even pro-Hitler here. I mean, he's not the Christian hero some of the people in the right wing want to make him, but he also wasn't the mean Mr. Mustache Man that the post-World War II consensus tries to make you believe. He's not the most evil person in the world. He didn't even kill the most people. Stalin killed way more people, and it's like socially okay if you're pro-Stalin, but if you say something pro-Hitler, both of them are in a general, modernist category, a reaction to modernity in some way. So yeah, you make a great. And Patrick, by the way, brother, I emailed you about setting up a one-on-one session. So you still want to meet? Please email me back on a time we can set up our one-on-one. And Parasocial Turpentine throws in 5. Thank you very much, Parasocial. Appreciate the support. Thank you very much. And let me just text to the Dono chat. Nothing on Dono chat and nothing on Streamlabs. So, guys, if you appreciate content like this, you appreciate my work, please support. And don't forget, another way to support is we're getting ready to dive into the Book of Enoch. So, beginning June 30th, we're going to be doing a complete study of all 5 books in the complete Book of Enoch. That is the Book of the Watchers, the Parables, the Book of Noah, the Kingdom of Heaven, and the Epistles of Enoch, all 5 of them. And we may even dabble into a little bit of the Dead Sea Scrolls. But if you'd like to belong to the men's community that is going to be diving into that category or that category in our next reading project, join us over at the Logos Academy. Would greatly appreciate it. Would greatly appreciate anyone signing up and joining us over there for our readings. I know Darth Grumpy is a member. He can tell you what we do over there. Darth Grumpy Dad, a lot of fun. I'm telling you, it's high quality stuff. Also, if anybody wants to sponsor a stream, if you have a topic that you would like for me to dive into, any topic your heart desires, you can do so with this link right here. And honestly, if you sponsor a stream, I can get working on it next week. So I can present it next week. So very quick turnaround on anybody who's interested in a sponsored stream. And if anybody would like to set up a one-on-one session, you can do so with this link right here. And we can meet in a private Zoom meeting and talk about whatever it is that you would like to discuss. So, all right. Oh, Broccoli throws in 20, says, for the best global news network. Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that support. Thank you very much. I love the fact that you guys like to get the news through me. Darth Grumpy Dad regarding the Logos Academy says, yep, we laugh quite a bit. Yeah, it's a fun group. We have such a great group of guys over there. Really, really love it. White Asian Orthodox says, not going to lie, I admire Mustache Man, but I don't worship him. Well, what things about him do you admire? I'd be curious. White Asian Orthodox. That's a funny name. I don't even know what to make of that. Every time they bring up the Holocaust, I think of the Bolshevik Revolution. Yeah. I mean, the entire post-World War II consensus is falling apart. Even the traditional allyship between nations is falling apart. I admire the mustache. Fair enough. I'll give you that. Fair enough. Yeah, pulling German. Well, that I will give you. I absolutely will give Hitler credit for. If you guys aren't familiar with like what Hitler did, he turned Germany around from the early 1930s within a decade. Mind you, all the debt that they had to pay after World War I. He was able to turn that country around in a decade. I mean, their engineering, their manufacturing, their domestic policies. I will concede that for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Anti-usury, anti-porn. Agreed. There is some weird stuff you can get into, especially once you get into the 1940s, of some very gay stuff going on with SS officers. But I agree with you. Shutting down the sex clinic in Berlin, burning the books, anti-porn, pro-family. I agree with all that. Increased wages. he did a lot domestic policy. He actually did a lot of good stuff. I thought when you admired him as a man, like his qualities or his beliefs or something like that. But in regards to his actual domestic policies, he did a fantastic job. I agree with that. All right. Let's watch the rest of this.
Iran. It's good that Trump and J.D. Vance are saying, look out, Israel, we're your last friend. Better stop playing games. So Netanyahu and his little propagandists, Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, time's up on them. People see through them. And that's the facts. So here's my breakdown. Here's what Levin had to say. You can see how desperate he is as the whole world wakes up to what's really happening. As America moves back towards getting sovereign control over our nation again from Israel and any other foreign interest.
And yet people keep giving opinions about me that aren't true. I read headlines and I go, did I say that? No, I didn't say that. So I just want to explain, I'm not an agent for the Israeli government. I don't meet with the Israeli government. I don't conspire with the Israeli government. Believe it or not, I love this country and I don't need any government to tell me that.
Sure you do. Sure you do. So basically covered up the fact that he meets with Netanyahu and gets talking points regularly. Now, here is an interesting theory about what's going on with the Charlie Kirk situation. And Ben Swan, investigative journalist, thinks that it has to do with the Iran war, insinuating that he believes that it's actually Israel, as many of us speculated, potentially behind the assassination.
Take on the Charlie Kirk thing. That's such a crazy. That was like a big, no pun intended, turning point in like the last year.
Oh, for sure. Well, look, I always tell people as a journalist, my job is the what, not the why. Right. I can't always tell you why, but I can tell you what. And I can tell you that, first of all, with Charlie Kirk alive, there would be no war with Iran because he stopped it the first time. It was supposed to have happened last year when Trump did the Operation Midnight Hammer and just ended up just blowing up the nuclear facility that was empty.
They used the mother of all bombs, right? The bunker busters.
Charlie Kirk went to the White House, sat with Trump and said, don't do this. Like, this is a mistake. You'll lose your base. You'll lose these people. After Charlie Kirk is no longer around, all of a sudden, we're stuck in a war with Iran. Thomas Massey was Charlie Kirk's favorite congressman. Has the highest...
Was he really?
Yeah. I mean, these are Charlie Kirk's words on air. My favorite congressman, right? Because he is the most principled, most conservative, sticks with the Constitution. Turning Point USA has something called the Turning Point Action Score. And it's...
Mela. That guy took the Mickey Rourke route and looks. That's...
It's based on your voting record and how conservative and how aligned with the Constitution you are. Thomas Massey has the highest score of all time among any member of Congress on that Turning Point Action Score. But without Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA refused to endorse Thomas Massey. Wow. Even though he still holds their highest action score. And as someone rightly pointed out, so what's the point? What's the point of having a score at all? If the guy who has the highest score of what you say is valuable as a congressman, you then say, well, we're not going to endorse it because the president doesn't like you, so we don't like you. Right. And so I can tell you about those what's. Yeah. As far as the actual Charlie Kirk's death, I can tell you that Tyler Robinson's story makes no sense. Yeah. There's no way Tyler Robinson is the guy who shot him. It's ridiculous. There's so much stuff that gets glossed over. Like when the shooting happens.
I haven't heard that name in so long.
Tyler Robinson?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like remember the day that it happens, there's some older man who stands up and puts his hands up and says, it was me. It was me. Whatever happened to that guy? Oh, he was confused. He was confused.
Wasn't he also at some other...
He was actually convicted of child pornography, if I remember right. He's actually in jail. The guy that was like the decoy, which makes sense because it's believed that he's like a DNC agent that it just happens to show up at these massive events. I think he was at 9/11. He was at the Boston Marathon bombing. He was at Charlie Kirk's assassination. There was another one that I'm missing. He was also at.
Crazy event.
I think
I think he was at 9/11. He was at some other crazy big event like that. Some big like math event.
Huh.
It might have been 9/11.
I don't know for sure. I just know this guy gets glossed over.
Yeah.
Like that was nothing. He was some guy who was confused. He was confused that he thought he killed Charlie Kirk. Like that's not confusion. That's distraction. What was this? Tyler Robinson climbing up on a roof. First of all, shot they have of him, which they AI enhanced, which is, I mean, that alone, if you're a defense attorney, like anything that's AI enhanced should be thrown out.
Shot was AI enhanced.
So the original shot of him walking up to the building in that T-shirt and everything, where they had the original picture and then the AI enhanced it. The AI enhancement does not look like the original picture.
Really?
Yeah, it's like the face is
Pull
not
that up.
the
The original photo of Tyler Robinson going into the building.
Look at the AI version of it. His face is different.
Really?
Yeah. It's not like dramatically different, but it's different enough that you say, how do you know that's the same person? Also, then you claim once he got up on the roof, he changed his clothes. So the clothes he's wearing when he walks into the building is not the clothes he's wearing when he's on the roof. So what was the point of showing us the picture of him walking into the building? Then you claim that he was walking in without a gun because he had it hidden on him and he assembled the gun.
And then disassembled it, put it back in his backpack after.
And then climbed off the roof and then ran into the woods and reassembled it and left it there. Like, what? And then the last thing that's the most interesting thing to me is, I don't know if you've seen this, and we should pull this up too. Apparently, remember he writes this message, some group online or like a Facebook group or something, where he's like, hey guys, it's me, Tyler. I'm the one who did it. I killed. Apparently, this message is sent after he's in custody.
So what do you guys think? I haven't even been following. I don't know if Candace has been talking about Charlie Kirk still or what's going on there. So I don't know what her latest arguments are regarding it, but I'm curious because you guys have probably found stuff that I haven't even come across. What do you think is going on regarding Charlie Kirk? And I'm going to post a poll right now. Charlie Kirk, what happened? I think we'll say the first one, we'll say Tyler Robinson, which I do believe is a dubious theory. Tyler Robinson. Then we'll say, the special, we'll say the democracy in the Middle East. Because the AI can see what I'm typing. So democracy in the Middle East. I think we all know who we're talking about there. U.S. government or unknown assassin. What do you guys think? Because a lot of people are speculating that it all has to do with the Iran war, which I wouldn't even put past the democracy in the Middle East. Yeah. With that being the case. So we got 6 votes. Go ahead and send your votes in on what you think. I'm legitimately curious. The more you look into it, the more you definitely don't believe the official story that Tyler Robinson did this. Doesn't make any sense, especially with what they're telling us. But it seems like the U.S. government's a close second here amongst you guys, and I could see the U.S. government. It sure seems like Kash Patel and the intelligence agencies know something that they don't want out. Just like when Joe Kent wanted to investigate any international ties to the potential assassination of Charlie, and they prevented him from doing that. Fair enough. Bingo Hicks. Fair enough. Yeah, I think you're right to a significant degree there. Okay. Next news item is this. Tommy G, I thought this was interesting. He's talking about being revealed that there's made men in the Orthodox Jewish community. Have you guys heard about this?
And so we were about to film this party, and they're like, no, cameras down. There's made men in this building. Made men. And I'm like, what? These are like guys look like rabbis in here. What do you mean made men? And the other thing is like, how are you a rabbi and a made man in a mafia? And
that's interesting.
And all this to say, my point about knowing about the Italian mafia but not knowing about the Jewish mafia is one of the things that I am trying to tackle without trying to unnecessarily hammer a group of people is like, why are we aware and talking about certain levels of crime and not other? And that's like the 2-tiered system that it feels like is like, because we came here to look into deed theft. And it's a complicated issue. It's a multiracial issue, by the way. Mm-hmm. But a guy, Sanford Solney, he got caught stealing 11 homes from people. And let's just say this is worth at least tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
He's on house arrest right now. I know guys that did 10 years in California prison for stealing $80,000 from a bank. So why is it that this guy gets house arrest, or the guy Jim DiOrio was investigating? I don't even, what happened to him? He got almost no time.
One of the guys got time, but he'll
barely, right?
He'll tell you about all the guys that he didn't even get to open the investigation. They had to close the investigation.
And so one of the lawyers I was talking to yesterday was talking like, look, the power structure in New York, I mean, the police commissioner, or the police, Jennifer Tish, her family is a real estate mogul family. And when you have all these, the other thing is so this is not just a Jewish thing, but white collar crime is not prosecuted. Or it's not punished the same way. Like you have a guy in Harlem steal $80 from you at gunpoint. He's going away for a while, but someone does deed theft where they steal your house from underneath you. That's worth $1 to $4 million in a New York neighborhood. They might get house arrest.
One crime's got a pen, another has a gun. That's why. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just saying.
So anyways, it's been going down a rabbit hole, but I've made a lot of friends in the process too. And
that's great.
There's this ginger rabbi that I met, Eaton, I have to say it the Hebrew way. Yeah. He wants me to come back and he wants me to look in the Chabad tradition. I want to learn more about these guys because that's the end of the day. What I am motivated by is curiosity, a desire to learn, and historically.
Okay. So we can hear about his personal intentions, but very interesting about the Jewish made men. And that's really nothing new to you guys. You guys already know. We know about the Jewish mafia. We know about their influence, various crime syndicates, how they don't get prosecuted. All the Israelis that get caught with children seem to get a one-way ticket back to Israel. So nothing new, but a bit of a validation for what we already know. Yeah, exactly. Real estate mogul family in New York. Turns out they just steal people's houses. This is about the Al Jazeera journalist, cameraman that Israel just killed this past week. This came out today. Israel claims that he was supportive of terrorists. Of course, he wasn't. And they just killed him. This right here is about a factory in Iran that just exploded, and many people suspecting that Israel is behind it. Now, we already knew that they were trying to do everything to subvert the peace negotiations, right? And that's why they immediately blow up an apartment complex in Beirut because of Hezbollah, because of two drones. Two drones hit an Israeli tank. Their response is to kill two Hezbollah soldiers by demolishing an entire apartment complex in the heart of Beirut. That's what really irritated Trump. Well, another growing theory right now is that they sabotaged one of the factories in Iran and got it to explode while all these peace negotiations were going, and it's believed it's another attempt to subvert.
I'm going to put a theory out there, is that Israel sending a warning to Trump, keep pressuring us, we're going to cause havoc in the region. Maybe it's an accident. The timing of it is way too unusual, and it's at a facility that was not damaged during the war, from the information that I have. So what are the odds of this facility exploding?
Yeah, I think that's a valuable theory. I think that when you look at Israel's attempts at espionage, subversion, and acts like this throughout the region in the past, it wouldn't be out of the question to consider it. What type of factory was it? Do we know? Like what did they refine there?
Literally nothing, zero. That's literally all the information we have.
Yeah, so when you look at obviously the magnitude of that explosion, certain explosions wouldn't occur. Certain components of certain things wouldn't explode unless there was something that exploded it to then explode. So it would be interesting to know exactly what what was refined there? What was the factory for? Was it natural gas? Was it petroleum? Was it some other type of thing? It's kind of like when if you're trying to determine, like, for example, in Iraq, and you see a car that you assume is a vehicle-borne IED, and you cordon the area and you strike that car with a Hellfire missile, the Hellfire itself is only going to emit a certain amount of explosion. And if there's nothing more, then you realize, okay, there was no explosive in that car. But if you hit the car with a Hellfire missile and the entire thing explodes magnitudes beyond that of a Hellfire missile, you're like, okay, there were other explosives in that vehicle, obviously. So when you look at that explosion, is what would have exploded at that factory organic to what the factory does? For example, if it was a factory that was refining grain, wheat to grain for bread, would it explode like that? No. So what was it? What was the factory's function? And I think then experts could look at that. Well, that wouldn't yield that type of an explosion unless there was something that sabotaged it or caused the explosion.
So anyways, you get it. A lot of speculation. Someone in the chat said the factory was in Qatar, not around. Parasocial turpentine. I must have read something differently, because one of the tweets that I was reading when I put in to look for this event in specific kept saying Iran. So could be wrong. Maybe it was in Qatar. Next news article. Now, this is really interesting, especially if you've been following some of the eschatology stuff. Something that Eschaton Vigil and I have been talking about is the animosity that's ramping up by Israel towards Turkey. And I already told you that don't be surprised if a flight that Erdogan's on happens to get struck one way or another, whether he's coming from or towards Turkey. One plane incident caused a lot of speculation. People thought he may have been on it. Turns out he was not on it, and killed another high-profile Turkish diplomat. Well, here at this Jewish conference that we saw Mark Levin at, we now see Amayad Cohen said at the JNS summit in Jerusalem, predicting a potential Muslim Brotherhood resurgence, and essentially saying that 15 years from now, Israel will have a war with Egypt. So, again, do they really care about people liking them? It doesn't seem like it. But I don't think they want people to hate them per se. But my God, you're literally in the negotiation of a peace deal with Iran, and you got Israelis talking about going to war with Egypt in 15 years. What? How does that work out? Listen to this.
The number one threat for America is the Muslim Brotherhood. Keir and the Muslim Brotherhood are trying to take over now Florida and Texas, and the second.
Now, I just want to say something here. Know that AIPAC and the Jewish lobby control Texas and Florida, right? Those were the first two states, these pro-red conservative states. They're the first two to have anti-Semitic speech laws and BDS laws, anti-BDS. So you can't boycott and divest from Israel. You can't avoid engaging with Israel. Those were the first two states, Florida and Texas. So he's saying that Islam is the greatest threat to America, which I don't disagree that it's a major threat. But Jewish control of our government and influence in our country is a bigger threat. They may not do, they may not have the instances of domestic terrorism that Islam has, but we're not a sovereign nation. That's part of the problem. So he's talking about Florida and Texas in specific, but realize from his perspective, those are two states in which Jews have a stronghold over. So from there,
first I take Florida, then I take Texas, and then America falls. New York already took over. Now it's not only a threat for America, it's a threat for Israel. And 15 years from now, Israel will have a war with Egypt. The Muslim Brotherhood will eventually take over Egypt. The Muslim Brotherhood, which is a Sunni jihad, now after we weaken the Shia jihad, will be a threat to the world. Turkey is now taking over. Fidam Khan, what's his name? The foreign minister, Hakam Fidan, the foreign minister of Turkey, announced that we took Haleb, we took Damascus, and Jerusalem is next. The Sunni jihad is the next enemy. Israel needs to be strong. America needs to be strong. Unfortunately, America is weak. Now, imagine you're an Israeli prime minister today. You understand that in 15 years you're going to have a war with Egypt, and you don't know who's going to be the prime minister, the president of the United States in 15 years from now. What do you do today to address that challenge? Even if it's an American one, the Muslim Brotherhood takes Texas and Florida. Imagine where America can be. That's a threat not only to Israel, not to Western society, it's a threat to mankind.
Well said.
The number one threat.
So they plan on going to war against the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt in 15 years. Kind of strange. Now, we're not going to play this, but this video was talking about, Parasocial, you are right. This is talking about Qatar's Roslafen gas facility. Yeah, that's what was blowing up. It was Qatar, not Iran, that factory blew up. We're not going to watch this video, but it's essentially about Larry Johnson, former CIA analyst, talking how his connections have said that we have depleted the petroleum reserves of the U.S. to a significant degree, where we basically have anywhere between 10 to 14 days left with the trajectory of how the Trump administration has been pulling reserve petroleum to put it out into the market to keep gas prices low right now. So arguing that this could be a major problem moving forward unless, again, the Strait of Hormuz is fully open and passage allows oil sales to increase to nullify the rise in gas price. So here's another one. Israeli soldiers shot and killed 2 Palestinian teenagers in the West Bank. Surprise, surprise. Aged 15 and 19. Israel's military says its troops opened fire on 3 people throwing Molotov cocktails and burning tires near a settlement, wounding a third, who Wafa says is 15, is now in stable condition. The IDF claims have not been verified yet. At least 57 Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank this year in clashes involving settlers and the military, per UN data. So business as usual in Israel. Israel launched a ground advance in southern Lebanon and carried out heavy airstrikes, violating the new Iran-U.S. deal less than 24 hours after it was signed, doing exactly what everyone believed what would happen, trying to undermine the peace negotiation. Here was the article I was telling you about of Miriam Adelson funding an article attacking Donald Trump. Israel Hayom, long owned by the Adelsons, published an article calling Trump a traitor, an embarrassment, and a failure to all Israelis. You could have been the greatest president of all, but you failed. Quote, Mr. President, you have gravely harmed the human interest of the enlightened world. No, he has not. By stopping the war, he actually helped the world. And you may be remembered forever as the president who brought about America's humiliation. Oh, really? You betrayed us, the Israelis, and in a single moment, the contempt you once faced suddenly seems so justified and logical. So you can see some of the backers of Trump are doing an about face and are quite upset with him. This is a Jew on Fox News. On Fox News saying the Goyim are like apes, essentially.
Jillian, when I was coming into the studio, I was thinking, what can I compare this to? Do you remember the movie Planet of the Apes? The human people that came to the planet, all of a sudden, you're weird, you're the killer, you're the rotten person, because they believed in all the evils that was unproven. To be a Jew today sometimes is like the humans that come to the Planet of the Apes and meeting people like him and like, where did you get this from? Why do you think this way? And it's almost impossible to talk to these people, to reason to these people, because hate is an emotion. It's not intellect.
Sounds like a bit of psychological projection there. It seems like the people who have the most hate are the people doing the most violence. And interesting that he refers to all the non-Jews as apes, and that Jews feel like they're in the Planet of the Apes as the enlightened moral people, and everyone thinks they're bad because they're filled with hate. No, sir. It has to do with the actions of your nation and your people. Here's a little time lapse to show you that the Strait of Hormuz is open right now. So we are getting oil flow to the highest degree since the war started. So Strait of Hormuz sees strong rebound in shipping activity, peak of 35 transits on June 20th, but traffic still below pre-crisis levels, but better than they have been, best that they have been since the war started. So that's good news. Netanyahu on Lebanon. Of course, they want to subvert, says our forces in southern Lebanon have full freedom of action to thwart any direct or emerging threat against them or against the residents of the north. Oh, you mean Lebanon? You mean the country you're trying to occupy? We will stay in the security zone in southern Lebanon for as long as necessary in order to protect the residents of the north. Yes, Lebanese, all those Christians, you know how your home was stolen? It's because Israel wants to protect you. The fact that they stole your home and probably destroyed your church, they're just trying to help you. They're trying to protect you and all the citizens of the state of Israel. If that's the way things are going, there won't be a U.S.-Iran deal because Iran said it's a non-negotiable that Lebanon not be included in the peace deal. And so we are reaching a precipice here where Trump is going to have to do something because Israel doesn't plan on stopping. And here's another example. Israel's DM put out a statement saying the IDF have full freedom of action to operate against any threat and will continue destroying terrorist infrastructure in the area, meaning Lebanon. And if you think that these are just a few one-offs, here is Israeli Minister Ben-Gvir, the psychopath, the guy that even the U.S. wouldn't give him a political visa when he wanted to come to the U.S. for a wedding. And so he didn't come because with a political visa, you can't be charged with a crime, you see. So Ben-Gvir said the cost of giving in to international pressure is a heavy one. My position is that instead of a ceasefire, we should attack Beirut. Well, what the hell did Beirut do? What is the purpose of bombing Beirut? If he really wants to fight Hezbollah, this isn't the way to do it, obviously. And then he follows that and says, my position is that we cannot accept even a single tear of an Israeli mother, even if there are tears from 1,000 Lebanese mothers, and we must continue to press forward. Oh, so southern Lebanon, there must be more that they want to get, a la Greater Israel Project. The psycho is making the same old statement, and no one in the Israeli government is saying anything to him. Of course not. Of course not. All right, we got a few more articles to get through here. Smash that like. Let me see if anybody's sending any questions or comments. Any appreciation for the stream. Nothing on Dono chat. Let me check Streamlabs. Nothing on Streamlabs. All right. Well, guys, if you appreciate this content, please feel free to support. Looking at our recent poll regarding what happened to Charlie Kirk, we see that it is a close race between Israel and the U.S. government being responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk. That's 79 votes. So we'll end it there. It looks like it's basically a dead tie, 39-38, and it's going back and forth. So my opinion, your opinion sounds to be the general same opinion. Let's get into the next batch of stories here. And we're going to be focusing on a little bit. This is a little bit more good news, positive news. You know, getting into so much of the Logos news streams is covering negative news. Well, this has to do with the World Cup and all these foreigners coming to the U.S. and realizing that the propaganda, the European propaganda that U.S. is, you know, basically we're all taking cover every time we go outside from gunfire, that every place in America is filthy and dirty, that the people are unhospitable, they're not fun to be with, they're uncultured, all this different stuff. People are realizing it's not the case. And so there are hundreds of thousands of these videos going around. I just grabbed a few, but the people who've made probably the most indelible mark in America is the Scottish. Everywhere they go, Americans are loving it. So Here is a Scottish man going to Florida.
I'm feeling like a Florida man. Yeah. What else are we going to see on this amazing adventure? From here in Orlando down to Miami, where Scotland and the Tartan Army are going to be taking on Brazil in a couple of days. Loads yet to see and loads yet to discover. And you guys do not mess around. Look, signs everywhere. Notice. Alligators are common in this area. They can be dangerous. As a Scottish person, we have got no comparison to this. Wow, Florida. What an introduction.
And there's a longer version where he talks about how driving through Florida feels like a National Geographic tour because he saw all types of animals, talking about, again, things that we take so for granted. And really, they're not even phenomenal things. Like this guy right here. This is an Australian man who went to Texas Roadhouse. And it makes you think, is the food this bland in Australia, England, or the UK and parts of Europe? Because they're going to like places that aren't even that interesting. Texas Roadhouse, Chick-fil-A, Waffle House. Waffle House has been a massive hit. In fact, ranch dressing. I have a video of ranch. The TSA right here had to make a video, a warning telling Europeans that they can't take all the ranch dressing back to Europe with them. So ranch dressing is not a phenomenon, here in the Midwest, at least. I don't know about you guys in other parts of the US. Ranch is like the number one condiment. I use it with almost everything. I'm not a huge ketchup guy. And even on bratwurst or hot dogs, I prefer mustard over ketchup. But in Europe, there is no use of ranch as a condiment for everything. And people are getting so addicted, in a sense, to ranch. They're trying to bring massive bottles, multiple bottles of ranch back to Europe. And TSA had to warn them to stop doing that. That's what this video is about right here.
Ranch dressing, plain as Europeans who just discovered ranch dressing during the World Cup have apparently gotten addicted to it. TSA made this post earlier today saying that if you do happen to find ranch dressing here in America and fall in love with it, because apparently a lot of Europeans have, to please not bring it into your carry-on bag, or do not chug it outside the gate as well, because apparently
they had to tell Europeans to not chug the ranch dressing. So anyways, videos like this have been going viral. Here is an Aussie man who goes to Texas Roadhouse for the first time. I mean, kind of a basic restaurant, if you want to get a decent steak dinner, go to Texas Roadhouse. He's blown away by it.
I don't normally go to fancy restaurants, but I'm in America with my son, so I'm like, let's go to Texas Roadhouse. It's unbelievable. First of all, they give you these peanuts. You can eat as many as you want. She's like, yeah, just take a bag. Then they come out and they put this bread on the table, and I'm like, I didn't order the bread. It's like, oh, that's free. And it's like, and she goes, and if you want more bread, we'll just give you more. And this bread it's as nice as bread can possibly be. Like,
what? Texas Roadhouse? Somebody asked, why am I talking? I'm not talking about Texas Roadhouse. That's not the point. The point, again, my wife is German, so I have a little bit of access to her social media, or she was showing me things. This is a phenomenon, right? This is huge. All of like European social media is about how great the American restaurants, grocery stores, stadiums are. If you just start scrolling on X, if you go find a few videos, because they'll put them in your algorithm, you'll start to get a bunch. But we're talking about tons and tons. So me bringing it up is not about how good Texas Roadhouse is. That's not the point at all. In fact, Texas Roadhouse isn't that great. The point is Europeans are experiencing like basic aspects of American culture and are becoming totally enthralled with it and think it's some of the greatest stuff they've ever had. George Taco says Texas Roadhouse slander is unacceptable. I mean, I like Texas Roadhouse. I'm not against Texas Roadhouse. I'm just saying it's not like an upscale. It's not like St. Elmo's. If you have a St. Elmo's in your city, that's like a very expensive, high quality steak dinner. it's not that, but the fact that Europeans are experiencing what we would consider basic American culture, I guess. And here's the thing about it. It made me sit and reflect, like these videos about Europeans, because it's like them going to Walmart, or European girls going to Target for the first time, or people going and seeing Costco. And it made me reflect, because this is causing a lot of Americans to feel very prideful and proud about their country. I mean, one of the things that is genuine is how nice they said the Americans are, which is true, at least here in the Midwest. And there's notable differences between like the Midwest and the South in particular versus East Coast, West Coast. It was noticeable when I moved to California. You know, in the Midwest, you go to the grocery store, if you don't do self-checkout, say you actually deal with a clerk there who checks you out, you ask them, how's your day going? They say, oh, good. How are you doing today? I'm doing good. Or, you know, use some type of line, same old, or same thing, different. You know, people say that, but you talk to each other. And eventually, if you see each other regularly, you say hi and stuff like that. Or if you're just walking on the street, it's common to say, you know, good morning to someone. For many of these Europeans, that is like a novelty. They don't engage with each other at the same way. No, St. Elmo's is in other places. Or what's the other one? Morton Steakhouse. Morton Steakhouse, I know, is in multiple cities. Yeah, St. Elmo's, I know, is particular Indianapolis, but Morton's is another really expensive one that is in other cities. But yeah, that's giving away a little bit of my geography. St. Elmo's is considered the best steak restaurant in the state of Indiana. That's downtown Indianapolis. I could have swore, though, like Florida had one. I'm pretty positive. If you put in St. Elmo's, there's other locations. But anyways, I digress. So thinking about all these Europeans and their videos, one of the things that made me think is that so much of it has to do with consumerism, which is part of the problem when we criticize America and our culture. Part of the problem is we are overly consumeristic and we consume everything. That's part of the collapse of our identity and things like that to a certain degree. And at the same time, you watch all these Europeans and they're blown away by, you know, the soda aisle at Walmart and how there's so many different flavors. There's so many different brands that you can choose from, or a place like Walmart where you can buy clothes and groceries in the same thing, or Costco, how big you can buy things in bulk. And it makes you reflect on what the Europeans are engaging with and how it is that they are viewing the great aspects of American culture. I'd say the Texas barbecue is a huge phenomenon. I think that stuff's great. But it is interesting to see what they find so compelling.
If you're an Australian, try and picture the most unbelievable bread, like Subway bread. Got this fancy butter. Then they give you the Coke. Of course, it's America, so it's unlimited refill. And then it was all like ribs and steak.
That's another one. They're obsessed with our free refills. Like when you order a soda at a restaurant, apparently you have to pay full price for refills in Europe.
And chips. There was an onion that had been deep fried and you dip it in the sauce. You just leave there so happy. And then Australians are all like, yeah, but in America, you've got to tip. No, you don't have to tip. You want to tip. These people are the most wonderful people in the world. I don't even know why you Americans are so angry all the time. You guys have Texas Roadhouse in your country. You should just be walking around wanting to hug everybody.
Here's another one. I think this one's a compilation. Yeah. So this is just some of the World Cup people experiencing basic aspects of American culture.
It looks exactly the same as every movie you've ever seen. The American flags, people have got race flags up. This old couple just walked past me and they go, good morning. I was like, what the hell? Did you guys talk to each other here?
Like, this is a high school stadium. What? Look at the amount of seats in this place. Do they actually fill these stadiums? Like, do people actually come for the games that actually fill these out? because that's honestly mental. Like, that is crazy. There is a ton of seats in here. If this was England, it would literally be like on a little park field with dog shit everywhere.
Guys, I'm not even fucking you right now. If we had Chipotle in Australia, I swear to God, I would be there every single day. It is so good.
Guys, Guzman needs to take notes.
Like,
Mad Max needs to take notes.
like, what is in this? Crack. Actual crack.
It's just incredible. Absolutely incredible. There really is. Like no other. I honestly think unless you live in America or unless you visit here, you can't really comprehend how nice these areas are.
About to have my Alfredo fettuccine. Holy fuck. What? That's the best pasta I've ever eaten in my life. Thanks. WTF. That's the best pasta I've ever had. I love it here. Holly. That was the best day of my life. Best restaurant ever. 10 out of 10. Wish I could go back every single day of my life. A beige food girl stream.
Like, that's got to be that one. All of them. They're so beautiful. Everybody's so friendly. Southern hospitality. The air smells nice.
When you're in the UK, okay, if you're next to the beach, it smells. The beach doesn't smell here, right?
No, everything's beautiful.
Yeah. You want one Coke Zero or two?
I can refill this 1,000 times.
Yeah, but you won't drink 1,000 cups of Coca-Cola.
You don't know me. And it's free.
You paid for it. You paid it.
Once.
Bro, slow down.
It's the best burger. Honestly, it's so good. And then I also got the animal style fries and the diet lemonade for balance. It's pink. I just love it here. Like, and they give to fight human trafficking, which is awesome. They have Bible verses on the bottom of their cup. Never. If you can see. But yeah, look at that burger. It's so good. And then we've got the sunset. I love America. I can never leave. I cannot live without this food.
I've been back home in the UK. I haven't felt like myself, which sounds so crazy. I now live for that adventure, that crazy lifestyle, that meeting new people, seeing new people every day, and I just long for it. And in America, it is so amazing. Oh, seriously, Americans, what have you done to me? I need to come back.
And that's just a compilation of a few. They go on and on. It's amazing to see. Like, this was today. A bunch of Norwegians, they're in New York City for one of the matches. I forget who Norway. They're playing tonight. And this is them on the subway. As I told you, the Scots, when they came to Boston, they drank the city dry. They said the city of Boston made 3 times what they make on St. Patrick's Day. This is a good one. So this is a guy talking about how he believed all the European propaganda about hating America came for the World Cup and thought it was going to be terrible here.
I feel like I've been lied to my entire life about America. Like, I'm in Florida. This beach is insane. Like, just as good as Australian beaches. But if you log onto the news, everything's bad. Everyone's got blue hair. Everything's terrible. It's not. It's absolutely fucking amazing. Are you kidding me?
The reason for this is very simple. All of the media, the global mainstream media, which is major newspapers, TV networks, wire services, and digital outlets, are left-leaning. Look at this. Around 80% of them are left-leaning. It's probably even higher, but 80% is a very high number. And if we look at America, 70% of national media is left-leaning. We know that's higher. But when you have an 80% global Democrat left-leaning media, of course the world is going to hate America.
I feel like I've been lied to my entire life.
Here is in Boston. This is the Boston State Police. Like, there's just an absolute love affair between the Scottish fans and the Bostonians. What happened in Boston? Again, they were climbing statues, putting traffic cones on the heads of some of the monuments, drinking all day for a week. And there's some of them are still there, although Scotland's getting ready to play in Miami. And the Massachusetts State Police, pipes and drums, were proud to play Scotland's national anthem to the departing Tartan Army and the Scottish soccer team. Like, I'm serious. It's like a real phenomenon here. This is a Boston radio station talking about the last week or so with Scotland, the Scottish fans.
Chief operating officer at Hennessy's Bar in downtown Boston, so of course over by Faneuil Hall, who says, "We've been here for over 30 years. We've never seen anything like it. We tripled St. Patrick's Day over the weekend with the Scottish visitors." She also added, "They brought back fun that was lost." On Sunday night, Hennessy sold out of beer. The bar got a delivery to re-up Monday, and another one is slated for Thursday in time for the next weekend of soccer matches. Federal Wine and Spirits sold out of several popular beer brands. That's a store right downtown. At one point, the owner said, "A patron walked in and bought 2 bottles of water, and 20 Scottish shoppers inside the store booed her."
That's hilarious. A woman goes in to buy water and the Scots start booing her.
They were a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, but just really quickly, like the note about we tripled St. Patrick's Day, and Curtis, I think you're going to like this. I think part of what is a feel-good story and this being a big party that's going very well for the city is loosening up a little bit.
Yeah.
The city's loosening up a little bit because for St. Patrick's Day, it's like, we understand that people live here. I live in the city. And it's like, no. Well, the package stores can't open until this time. The bars have to close at this time. And the trains can only run this much. And usually I don't like rag about this kind of thing. But I do think that this kind of shows that if people are given the opportunity to celebrate, it's good for business.
Yes.
Everybody's having a great time.
Yes.
It's not chaos in the streets.
No, their partying has not I don't know about you or you, Wiggy, or you, Curtis. It hasn't inconvenienced me in one bit. Like
it's just the people that run the city and don't tell you when streets are closed. Everybody else has done a phenomenal job. The people of Scotland, the people of Boston have done awesome.
I enjoy everywhere that you go, at least for me, when I'm old man walking or walking bullet.
Well, there is a wall in the seaport, so it's kind of
they are all over the place. They were all walking around the seaport yesterday. They are taking in the city. They love it here. They love their team.
Right.
It's just, and you kind of get it as a Patriots fan.
Okay, then they start bringing the comparison between New England Patriots and the Scottish. There's another one I wanted to show you. I thought I had up. So this will be our last one on all the Europeans celebrating their experience in America. This was a decent compilation, but I have another one of like people just getting along. So maybe I'll show you 2 more just because they're fun. They're kind of heartwarming. It's interesting to see what people find so fascinating when they come to America. Because we're so used to it. In fact, we often criticize some of the things that they're finding astonishing. Like you're going to watch people going to Walmart and be amazed.
Thanks so much. You're welcome.
This is one blanket? Yeah, welcome to America. You know, I used to be little like you.
This is pizza. Damn. It's ground beef. Look at and I got big hands, L-sized hands.
That is absolutely massive. That is the size of my head. You can't get a drink this size in my country.
But what is this? Costco. This is even bigger than Walmart.
Oh my god, guys, it's Parker. We're gonna go into Target. She's also gonna film it with her camera. Oh my god.
So you like shopping in America a lot better, honey? We've already got 3 items.
We are in America for the first time as Europeans. They have every flavor. Look, they have Big Red. What's Big Red? There's a Big Blue as well. We don't know.
Come all the way from London for one of these famous sandwiches.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
What are we going to make you today? I'll tell you what.
There's a whole like subsection of these videos that's just on Waffle House. Like Waffle House, which I love Waffle House. So some of you guys were very protective of Texas Roadhouse, fair enough, but Waffle House in particular is American gold, especially late at night after you've had a few adult beverages. But there are so many videos of Europeans going to Waffle House for the first time and just astonished. I mean, hundreds and hundreds. If you just put in like Waffle House on X or whatever social media, you're going to find tons and tons of videos. This is one clip from one of those videos.
That is some good shit.
Look at those. I think they're getting ready for something fucking heat in Texas.
Yo, can you just give me a green card, bro? Oh.
Yo.
I don't know what they're singing, but I'm gonna join a party if I see it.
The container store.
It's just containers.
Just containers, what, to contain stuff?
Yeah.
We haven't got one of those in England.
So, and I will say there's like been very little conflict. So if you're looking for something a little heartwarming, I think it is all these people coming to the US and having a phenomenal time. There's so many videos of people saying the World Cup should only be held in the US because it's so much of a better venue than Europe. And because the US is so big, so the cities that they're holding these World Cup matches on, New York, Boston, I think Philadelphia, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, Seattle, and Dallas, Texas, and Miami. And a lot of these people, for example, there's a whole series of Norwegians renting pickup trucks because they don't have pickup trucks, getting like a big Dodge Ram and driving wherever the team, because the teams are playing in these different locations around the US. So the fans have to follow them. I saw people taking like the train, something I've wanted to do. There's trains that go from Florida to New York, taking some of the train systems and just having dinner, watching and seeing the landscape of America. There's all these videos of people going to national parks and are just blown away by the size of the United States compared to Europe. Like I watched this one British guy, actually like his jaw dropped when he realized we have a national forest in Alaska that's bigger than the entire United Kingdom. So including Ireland, the entire United Kingdom, including Ireland, we have a national forest in Alaska that's bigger than that. And they couldn't believe the size of the United States. So people that are coming are experiencing everything from New York, Boston, Texas, Miami, LA, San Francisco, Seattle. And they're saying that they can understand why Americans are so ignorant of the rest of the world, because they're saying, if we lived here, why would you ever leave the United States? Every state for them feels like a different country in Europe. So their interpretation is from driving from New York to Florida, it feels like for them, they've gone to a new country, and they're just blown away by the size, by the beauty, the natural beauty of our country. And it does give you a little bit of an appreciation for the opportunity to live here. You know, there is a lot of problems with our culture. There's a lot of problems with our people. I mean, one of the reasons they're so happy is the food, but look how fat everyone is here. And that is a real problem. Look how fat people are. But you kind of see your country through a different perspective. And I think that's it's interesting. And as I was saying, everybody is getting along. So that's part of the reason, like these foreigners, there's like this guy named Bob from Japan. This is him right here. And he's like blown up on social media. Some of you guys may have seen this. He's blown up, and all he does is just try what everybody tells him he needs to try. So there was like the recent video is him drinking Tito's vodka for the first time in Texas. This is him doing barbecue for the first time. And one of the things, notice one thing, they're almost all Europeans that are so in love with the country. One of the things I kept seeing these foreigners talk about is how many American flags we have. And they said they always found it obnoxious, like how Americans love America and think the USA is the best and wear their American flag everywhere. And they said after being here, they wish they had that spirit in their own countries back in Europe. I saw that being mentioned by both British and Norwegian people that are here, as well as Scottish. But the Scottish are pretty proud. But it was the Norwegian and the British. There was two different videos, and they were talking about how they've actually love how many American flags, and they were blown away by how big they were. There's videos of people going to like Bass Pro Shop. I'll find one here in a second. Just absolutely stunned at Bass Pro Shop, which is pretty cool if you've never gone. But here's like a little compilation from the New York Post on just how much fun the Europeans are having and how everyone's getting along from all the different nations. Now, I will say there's been a few videos of Europeans at bars where they have all the national flags and they go up and they cut out the Israeli flag, which the bars let them do. But anyways, here's like another, just a feeling for the vibe of people right now. We're going to mute that audio because that's definitely going to get flagged. But you can see how many people, every country has thousands of people here because they're filling entire stadiums. Saudi Arabia, Japan. In fact, there was a really cool video of the Japanese cleaning up after themselves after one of the matches. And they said it was a point of honor for them, that they felt honored to be here and to be part of the World Cup, and they felt obligated to clean up after their team, well, their fans after their team won. And so they had trash bags picking up the entire section the Japanese were sitting in. Like not a single piece of trash was left. Here's British guys trying barbecue in Texas for the first time. Absolutely hilarious.
We're at HEB trying some proper Texas barbecue. Have a look at this. Wow, this is nice. This is good food. You know it's good when it just falls off a bone. Look at that. Wow. That is gorgeous. This is the biggest rib I've ever seen. Dad, HEB barbecue out of 10 then. 10 out of 10. Unbelievable. Massive shout out to HEB barbecue manager John.
So here's Norwegians going to Bass Pro Shop for the first time, which is a pretty funny video as well.
What do you think, Jacob?
Good.
Okay, I'm gonna show them the aquarium. Look at this.
What? This is crazy.
Aquarium.
What the fuck? Oh, fuck. Holy shit. Holy shit. What the fuck is this? Look at these big ass fishes. Yeah. It's a big bass.
What you got, Joel? A little sweatshirt?
Sweater and a t-shirt.
Hello. Nolan, what do you think? It's a crazy story. Crazy? The aquarium. Look at all the fish. Yeah. This is insane. What you have in there?
I'm gonna have it in my house in Northern Norway.
That's awesome. Okay, we're gonna show them the upstairs. Jacob, did you like Bass Pro? Yeah? The Norwegians, it's Norwegian approved?
Yeah.
Okay. Joe, what did you think of the story?
It was really American.
Did you like it?
Yes, of course.
What do you rate it?
9 out of 10.
So funny. Here's the clip I was telling you about of Japan cleaning the stadium up after themselves. He says Japanese have been cleaning since they were in the schoolroom when they were kids. Things are better when they're cleaner. We go home, we want to treat it like when we go home, just as when we come. I think it is very proud that is being displayed in a stadium where people around the world pay attention to it. You can see everyone bringing the Japanese the trash inside the stadium. This was a Japanese guy that was on local news in Texas.
My name is my name is Hirochika Nakakuki.
Oh wow.
It's live?
Okay.
It's
yes,
live?
Yes, it's live.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
excited are you?
Yeah.
You were so excited, right? Japan, right?
Excuse me.
Okay.
I cannot speak English, but I'm excited.
I love it! Yeah, baby! Let's go!
Japan,
baby! Look, it's lit. It's lit. Okay, what are we looking at? Oh my gosh, can you tell me what this is? We're looking at his back.
Japanese. Toyama. Okay? Toyama's message. いっぱい集めてる. Yes, collection.
Amen.
Message collections. Toyama's message collections.
I love it.
Okay?
I love the energy.
Yes,
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Yeah.
You got any predictions? You got a score?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Japan?
Yeah.
What is the score? The score. What do you
Yeah.
think? 1-0? 1-0?
2-0. Win Japan! Yeah!
Love your energy, buddy.
Yeah!
Okay, hey, let's Thank you so much for talking to me, you guys. Yes, thank you. Can you teach me something? Can you teach me a word?
Yeah.
Can you teach me good luck?
Good luck?
Yes.
Good luck? Yeah.
In Japanese.
Yeah, Japanese?
How do you say it?
Yeah.
Good luck. Or how?
Good luck. Okay, Japanese, okay. Ganbare, Nippon, and Itsumo Icha!
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Once again.
It's me.
Okay.
Every time, one channel or number one.
I love
Every time, number one, Itsumo Icha! Ganbare, Nippon!
Listen, there you have it. I love it. Love the energy. Thank you again. You have a thank you. Oh yes, I love hugs. It was so nice meeting you. Thank you guys. What? USA? USA, baby. Hello, I love it. Okay. One time for culture. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
USA.
Amen.
Japan. And USA. I love it.
Okay, we love you too. Hey, thank you for hanging out. Be safe. Make sure you hydrate because it gets
Japan, USA. I love it. It's so good. It's so good. Here's another guy talking about his experience in the United States.
For almost 3 years. And this World Cup that's being hosted here and seeing all of the foreign people come to the US posting about all the incredible things that are here reminds me so much of when I first arrived. And it's so funny because as a Brit, when I rave about the country, when I speak highly of the States, when I talk about how incredibly friendly and welcoming and nice the people are, how much there is to do here, the beautiful scenery and land, the incredibly delicious ranch sauce that you don't get anywhere else in the world, the amazing service and hospitality that you get in restaurants, from valet parking your car. You go to the grocery store and people are asking you about your day and how you're doing and what you're up to that night. Those kinds of things you don't get anywhere else in the world. And those are just a handful of the highlights of living in this country. But it is so amazing to see so many people coming in here now to watch the World Cup who are now getting to experience that. And I think whilst every country in the world has terrible things going on and things that you could argue that are putting the country down the drain, etc., every country has good and bad things going on. And there are bad things going on here in America, but it is also one of the greatest, if not the greatest country in the world to live in. You can do anything you want here. You can live your dream. You can be supported by everyone around you, fellow Americans, because they are so patriotic and passionate for the most part. So I just wanted to say that, and it's really, really cool to see other people, foreigners now experiencing that in the US. And I know many of you guys who are actually Americans love your country as well. So it's great to be here.
Here's another example. That's what I mean. These things can go on forever. There's so many people.
We owe you a big apology because what we think America's like, guys, I think we owe you a big apology because what we think America's like is exactly not what it's like. Like the news outlets in the UK say America's this, say America's that, say America's this, say America's that. I'm not going to get into detail, but listen, when you go to America, you actually see what it's like with your own two eyes. Honestly, people are so nice here. The hospitality is amazing. People are just so accommodating, and anything you want, they will do it. And the thing is, the people here are so nice, so polite. And in the UK, we think the complete opposite. We think people are not nice. We think it's very dangerous here. But it's not, guys. You need to go to America to experience it. Because if you're not, then you're missing out. You're 100% missing out of what it's like in the USA. So to me, to you, I give you guys a huge apology because us Brits are missing out of the USA.
This one's of an American man watching all these videos. Went massively viral on multiple social media platforms, but he's just talking about how it makes him feel as an American with seeing all these videos. Here you go.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not going to cry, but man, somebody tell me why I'm sitting here getting emotional watching damn soccer videos. I'm not a soccer guy. I like the real football. But man, I think y'all did it, FIFA, with this damn World Cup stuff. I think y'all just made a Florida redneck into a soccer fan. Like, how can you be a decent human being and not love the unity and love and kindness and respect that is being shown right now on the world stage with the World Cup? Like, watching all these cultures mix. watching fans from different parts of the world do jersey swaps and give each other hugs, watching Koreans try freaking Mexican food and embrace the culture and love it, and then show grace in their loss. Them Japanese folks trying In-N-Out for the first time and loving it. The Scottish in Boston, while watching every European fall in love with Texas brisket, but simultaneously almost have a heat stroke because they're learning what real heat is. And do not get me started on that old Kansas man who came into tears and praised the Algerians for choosing his little Kansas hometown to come set up base camp. I am honestly so incredibly thankful that America was able to be given the opportunity and the privilege to host this. Like, we needed this, the world needed this, because all these foreign soccer fans are all now learning that America is not what we're portrayed in the media. We are not what these politicians say. We are the nicest, kindest, most giving individuals on the face of this planet, and we love everybody. Our political system is so shot. Left wing, right wing, both damn wings belong to the same bird. You've got radical left and you've got radical right, but there are a bunch of us that fall somewhere in the middle that are good, upstanding, decent human beings that can agree to disagree. Just because we have a difference of opinions doesn't mean we hate each other. We can still love each other and be there for each other, and I think that's what the World Cup is hoping to show. So,
and maybe this will have lasting effects. I mean, I'm talking with my wife, and she thinks it's going to, based on what she's seen, a total change in like the online European sentiments towards America since the World Cup started. You know, here's a video of England going to a rodeo for the first time. I think this is in Fort Worth, outside, next to Dallas. And just taking over rodeo. I don't know if I can find a video of these English people talking about seeing an American rodeo for the first time.
Rodeo, baby.
Here's another one.
Why am I wearing a cowboy hat? Well, because I'm in Texas. I'm at Buc-ee's, which is absolutely insane. It's ridiculous. It's a gas station, but if you think of a gas station and you think, okay, might as well have 6 pumps, maybe 8 pumps, right? Texas doesn't do it that way. Texas thinks, how about we 10x that? So instead of 8 pumps, you've got 80 pumps. Instead of a regular gas station, you've got a fucking mall, which is remarkable. It's insane. They live large. And then, I got myself one of those, the size of my face. I'd be wondering, why am I wearing...
It's pretty cool. And I even had one of the Scottish dealing with the heat in Miami. Is that one that we already played? No. So let me show you this one. This is all the Scottish people arrived in Miami to like the last couple of days and being asked about the heat. They never experienced the humidity and heat that they've got in Florida. I got it right here. They call themselves the Tartan Army, all the Scottish fans.
Miami Beach, Florida, and let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, they call this place the Sunshine State for a reason. It is currently 34 degrees, the humidity off the scales, and I don't want to tell you what's going on underneath this white t-shirt, but welcome to Miami Beach. Scotland fans already in attendance, thousands making their way from Boston and all across the globe to be here. How are they handling the Miami heat, though, and what are they looking forward to for the rest of this World Cup? We caught up with a couple of them earlier on.
Boston compared to this was a fridge.
Oh, no.
I mean, seriously, but I mean, they've flung it out and they've turned the heating right up.
Boiling hot, absolutely boiling hot. We just bought more Factor 50 there. I used to live in Boston.
I think I'm on my third bottle by now, and it's still not enough.
We're beginning to try to acclimatise, having a few cool beers and things like that.
It's really warm.
Is it hot?
Yes.
What are you doing to survive the heat? Are you going on the beach?
Yes.
I love it.
Now everywhere you look, there's just Scottish tops everywhere, and thankfully we've got Brazilians. Everybody's mixing and just having a great time.
This could be my best holiday I have ever had in my life. It's been absolutely brilliant. No, the Scottish fans have been incredible, and to come down to the sun now, nothing's going to beat this.
So you guys get it. There's tons of videos you can click through and see all types of stuff. Oh, it looks like I had that video. But it's going to lead now. We're going to be focusing a little bit on Britain. What the heck is going on Britain? We're going to wrap up the show with the UK. The Labour are now looking to ban VPNs to totally control the internet in the UK. This was just a one-off. It was showing about pride in the country. Only 29% of Democrats say they're proud of the country, while 90% of Republicans say they're proud of the United States. And this was pretty cool. This was from yesterday. Iran had a game, and the Iranian football team played in LA. And the football team left a nice shout out in their locker room before packing up. And it reads like this: from the ancient Persia of thousands of years ago to the civilized Iran of today, the spirit of Iran remains alive and steadfast. We came to Los Angeles with pride, competed with honor, and leave with dignity. Thank you, Los Angeles, for your hospitality. And thank you for every Iranian who gave their heart, voice, and soul for Iran throughout these 180 minutes. May peace, respect, and friendship prevail among all nations. So even while in a war, it's pretty cool to see the camaraderie and the respect amongst people. This was the one-off that I mentioned to you about the elections in South America. Both Colombia and Peru just elected right-wing candidates. So very different than the trajectory we're seeing over in the UK. Now, we're going to be getting into Keir Starmer's resignation right now, but this is a video. We're not going to watch it, but I thought it was just worth sharing. Britain's first gay father to a child born through surrogacy has been smacked with 18 more charges, including child sex offenses. Barry Durrett Barlow and his husband Scott, who were charged with rape in May, have now been hit with more charges, including paying for sexual services of a child. One, he's 57, was charged with the following on Monday, according to the BBC: 2 counts of sexual activity with a child, 2 offenses of paying for sexual services of a child, 5 counts of rape, 4 counts of sexual assault, causing an individual to engage in sexual activity without consent, causing or inciting sexual activity. And this video here is the UK celebrating him as the first gay father of a surrogate child. And I just say that as it's kind of indicative of everything going on. So Starmer, we'll come back to these two. This is Starmer resigning from Prime Minister of the UK.
I will also give my successor my full and unequivocal support, knowing that they will inherit a Britain that is far stronger and fairer than the one I inherited 2 years ago.
Which is an absolute crock of shit. The UK is in a far worse position today than when they were when Keir Starmer took over. And this is the guy who is apparently believed to be leading as the opportunity to fill his place. And so Andy Burnham, the UK's King of the North, until days ago, Burnham was just the mayor of Greater Manchester. Then he won the most consequential by-elections in recent British political history, securing a seat at Westminster and a real shot at the top job. Ideologically, Burnham sits to Starmer's left, so he's even more left than Starmer, who himself is a socialist. And this new guy is expected to take his role, openly describing his political vision as a business-friendly socialism focused on regional power and public ownership. He's now the man most expect to end up with the keys to 10 Downing Street. And I'm going to go back because the only people who are lamenting the stepping down of Starmer, certainly not the British people, but Zelensky, one of the few people that is sad to see Starmer go. Of course, he had tons of money being sent to Ukraine. Hours after his resignation, the Ukrainian president posted a glowing tribute thanking Starmer for Britain's support and calling the UK among the world's leaders. Give me a break. Keir, you are always a welcome guest in Ukraine, says the Khazar president. Back home, the mood's a bit different. There are more than 95 Labor MPs spent weeks pushing him toward the exit he finally took today. And here's Zelensky saying, Keir, thank you for your cooperation and support and the joint decisions that have helped me make our Europe and our protection of life stronger. The United Kingdom has been and is and remain the world's leaders. Here in Ukraine, we deeply value Britain. And every meeting and every conversation, we have always been filled with real substance. Thank you for always being in touch, always engaged, always striving to do what is needed and what will truly help. I wish the United Kingdom and all the British people every success as well as realization of your national goals. We have confidence in Britain. Keir, you're always a welcome guest in Ukraine, says Khazar Zelensky. He shouldn't even be power. He's not even elected. And of course, the other person that's sad to see Starmer go is Ursula von der Leyen of the EU. She says, it can take many leaders years to grow into the statesman you became in just 2 years. European and Ukrainian security is stronger because of you. Thank you, dear Keir. So basically, he was a fantastic puppet, and they're sad to see him go. That's what it sounds like. And here's a gentleman commenting on the resignation.
Tell me more about Starmer. He resigned. People have been talking about it for a long time. Why? Maybe just for my audience, why did this happen? What does it mean for the UK and Europe?
Yeah, I mean, this was not a resignation in any traditional sense. He was forced out. He had to go. He is the most hated prime minister we have ever had. And it is pretty extraordinary given that he won this landslide election literally 2 years ago. So no one expected this, especially given he's a globalist guy and he's backed by the mainstream media and he's backed by the establishment. But something really fundamental happened in the UK just a couple of weeks into his premiership, which was that 3 little girls were stabbed at a Taylor Swift dance class by a guy called Axel Rudakabana, who was a second-generation migrant to the country, parents from Rwanda. He had been radicalized by reading Al-Qaeda manuals and growing ricin in his...
Laura says, why was he forced out specifically? Because he was so unpopular. That in Britain right now, one of the concern is that the people are not even just turning against, and this is why they had to get Keir Starmer out, is they're worried about the entire public sentiment being against the entire government. So right now, so much animosity and hatred for their policies, for their immigration, for their censorship, for their new internet laws. They were able to point a finger and direct that specifically to Keir Starmer. However, what they're worried about is like public trust and support for the government is like the lowest in British history or pretty close, at least in recent polling. And they're very concerned that there may be legitimate uprisings in Britain against the political order. And so one of the things they wanted to do is get Starmer out to sort of get somewhat a new face in there and get a presentation that they're moving in a new direction, or that all your frustrations and your animosity for what happened, you can just leave that and place that on Keir Starmer. So that's part of the psychology and the game plan behind trying to get him out, is that the UK is ripe for like a revolution. Like they're on the edge of absolute violence in the streets. That's how dynamic the situation is over there. It's partly why all the English people coming to the US for the World Cup are probably so enthralled with our country because we have a lot of problems. You know, we have a lot of domestic issues, but we don't have the Muslim problem they have in Europe. And I saw people, I actually saw a video of a guy talking exactly about that. He was walking he was in Alabama, of all places, for some reason. He was driving and he stopped in Alabama, and he said he had to stop here. And it was just like a little sort of recreational pond with a trail and a bridge that goes across the whole pond into a trail into the woods. And he was just like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Look, everything's kept up. Nothing's vandalized. You can see like the grass was mowed. The trash cans were still there. And he started walking and saying, look, there's women here by themselves. Men are wearing watches because they're not afraid that somebody's going to pull a knife out and steal their watch. And it was like the most mundane thing. It wasn't even a national park. It's like a little city, like little recreational natural area with a bridge across the pond. And he was blown away. He was like, it's the Americans, they're keeping all their stuff together. It's amazing. I've never seen this. Again, I don't have to worry about being mugged. And it's like, bro, like things must be pretty intense over there in UK. I think he was from Birmingham is what he said. So yeah, that's my point here is in the UK, it is very, very contentious, especially from the domestic population towards the immigrants that continue to commit crimes. I mean, we just had Novak, the kid that got stabbed multiple times by the Sikh kid who lied about it. And then he died in police custody. That's why people are so angry is honestly, the English have been pretty pacified because their people are getting killed through essentially migrant crime one way or another, like every single week. It's really intense.
His bedroom, and Starmer went to the scene of that crime and refused to speak to any of the family members, any of the friends that were in attendance. He went back to London and attended a champagne reception and then proceeded to deride the people who dared to protest about that as far-right thugs and locked up a whole load of people for simply posting about their fury on X. And that was literally 2 weeks into his premiership.
Yeah. And here's another thing that's really interesting is so many of the victims of migrant knife crime, it's almost like they read a script. So almost every time the BBC or some news camera comes to the family who's just experienced some horrific accident, puts a camera in their face, and they recite the same lines that, this isn't racially driven, that we need to have compassion on both the victim and the perpetrator's families and the people involved. And it's becoming apparent that the UK government essentially gets a hold of these victims and has them legitimately read from a script. That's what's going on. So smash that like, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Let me just catch up with the chat before we wrap up. Also, again, want to remind everyone that June 30th, we're beginning a new reading project over in the Logos Academy where we'll be studying the Book of Enoch, all 5 books starting June 30th. So if that's something you'd be interested in, go join us at the Logos Academy. And anybody who is interested in sponsoring a stream, you can sponsor a stream on any topic your heart desires, as long as it won't get my channel taken down. I'm pretty lenient on the content, as long as it's not too vulgar. You can do so with this link right here. Sign up, sponsor a stream. I'll contact you about the topic and the presentation. Also, if anyone would like to sign up for a one-on-one session, you can do so with this link right here. And if you have not got the best book critiquing transhumanism from an Orthodox Christian perspective, and really it's the best Christian critique of transhumanism, do get a copy of my book, Return to Babylon, From Adam to Antichrist, right there. So, all right, let me catch up with everyone. Nathaniel throws in 5, says Chick-fil-A is overrated. I prefer Popeyes. I think both are good. Both are good. I'm a sucker for good chicken sandwich. KLW throws in 10. Thank you very much. He says pay piggy tax installment. That's right. If you haven't paid your taxes, get your taxes in, guys, or tithe to the church. You know, it's part of your duty. So thank you so much, KLW. Really appreciate it. D-Bands throws in 279, says, as a Canadian, I feel the same in the USA. Wow. Well, I'll tell you, that was one of the interesting things is I couldn't find a single video of the Europeans or the foreigners saying how great Canada was. And in fact, there's a little bit of a beef between Canada and the US right now. I don't know if you guys saw, but during UFC Freedom 250, there was a Canadian fighter who ended up getting beat. He was actually a Muslim as well. But when he came out, they played "Oh Canada." And much of the American audience actually sang "Oh Canada" together as the guy came out. It wasn't all Canadians. It was mostly Americans there. And then recently during the World Cup, the American national anthem was played and the Canadians started to boo the national anthem. And it was very striking because out of all the groups that have come, all the European nations, the African nations, the East Asian nations, South American nations, the only group to outright boo the national anthem of the U.S. were the Canadians. And it caused a lot of people to be upset with them. But it kind of strange, you know, why the Canadians hate the Americans so much. But it just showed this dialectic that it's like the Americans couldn't, you know, it's like the meme. How often do you think of me? We never think of you. We never think of Canada. You know, Americans, there's never a thought about Canada or reflecting on Canada. Maybe that's part of the animosity. But, you know, Americans celebrating the "Oh Canada," their national anthem. And then at the World Cup, it's the Canadians that boo the U.S. It's like, Scribs throws in $2, says only horror stories from Canada. Yeah, it's true. Not a single foreigner said how much they love Vancouver. And Vancouver is a very beautiful city. Never been, but I've heard. Gregory throws in 5. Thank you very much. Says buy stock in all these companies. Yeah, especially Ranch. That's the one that people are blown away by is how many of the Europeans love Ranch, which I do too. Radical Rodney throws in 5, says, do you think you'll ever interview Father Paul Trubenbach? Yes, actually. Father Paul Trubenbach, I was able to get him a copy of my book just recently and signed it. And a member of the Logos Academy was actually recently at his church and gave him a copy. And so, yeah, you're going to be seeing, like, from this week forward, every week I'm going to be scheduling interviews. Tons of priests. So many priests, Dr. Zachary Porcu, some of the really cool Orthodox academics, and just talking about a wide variety of topics. So my goal is starting next week to have a person on every single week for the foreseeable future, just to get some people on to chat. And so Father Father Paul Trubenbach is certainly one of them that I want to have on. He's great. I love his content. And Radical Rodney said he's my favorite online priest. Glory to Christ. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to have him on. Checking Dono chat. Sarah sends in $50. Thank you so much, Sarah. Really appreciate it. The big super chat for the night. Thank you very much, Sarah. She sends in $50, says Christ is King. Thank you very much for that. I truly appreciate the support. And let me just check Streamlabs to see if anybody sent anything in. And nothing on Streamlabs. So yeah, Father Paul is awesome. I love Father Paul. Oh, yeah. My wife. Don't get my wife started on mayonnaise. She can eat mayonnaise like I eat ranch. I find mayonnaise. I can do a little bit of mayonnaise, but I'm not a mayonnaise person. I'm not a mayonnaise person. Oh my gosh. Ilya says the same thing. Mayo and ketchup is base. No. Thank you. White Asian or mayo is nasty. I can do a little bit of mayonnaise. My wife can eat tons of mayonnaise, and she loves the mayonnaise ketchup mix. She says it's a European thing, so maybe it is. Yeah, you can see her. She loves her mayo. Thank you, Wicked Wally, with a voice of reason. Thank you, Wicked Wally. Mayo is gross. I don't get it. I eat mayo with soup, beans, and cornbread. Ugh. Ugh. You're supposed to use butter. Just a big, fat, thick slice of butter on cornbread. Mayonnaise? Mayonnaise, Jacob? Woo. Making my stomach turn. White Asian said, the only time I like mayo is my macaroni or potato salad. Okay, yeah. Yeah, y'all disgust me. Well, Bingo Hicks, he's from down on. He's an Aussie. So it must not be a big Aussie thing, mayo and ketchup. Darth Grumpy Dad says, mayo and ketchup isn't bad. I mix ranch. I could do ranch. I can do anything ranch. I love ranch. Ranch and hot sauce. I love hot sauce. I could do that mix. Oh, shout out to my buddy. Shout out to you, Zach. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for, again, having Jenny and I over. We had such a fun time at your place with your beautiful family. God bless you, brother. Thank you very much, man. It was a fun time. He says, we make homemade mayo. I might try some homemade mayo. I'll eat mayo if it's already on my sandwich. Like, I'm not that bad. I have to get it unless there's too much mayo. But my wife can eat mayo with anything. Buffalo Ranch is where it's at. I'll die on this hill. Yeah. Ranch and barbecue. I'm with you, K-Ram. What? I mix mayo and sardines, parsley and onions and eat it with... No. No. That's a troll for sure. Homemade mayo. I'd like to try Zach's homemade mayo. That I would try that. I don't know if I like it, but I'll try it for sure. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for me. God bless you all. Thank you all so much for stopping in, and thank you for everyone who supported the stream. I really appreciate you guys. I love you. Wouldn't be able to do this without your support. So thank you all very, very much. And I will be back Wednesday. Tomorrow we have a Logos Academy meeting at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We meet every single Tuesday. And so tomorrow we'll be hosting an open discussion amongst all the men. So if you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you. Just sign up at school.com/Logos Academy. And that's going to do it for me, guys. I will see you all Wednesday. As always, until then, God bless.